Chapter 1. Emma. I cry for the first hour of the 2.5-hour flight to Orlando. I can't help it. My heart isn't just broken. It feels like it's been ripped out of my chest. And I did it to myself. I told Marcus I can't move in with him. I told him it was over. My seatmates, a balding 50-something man by the window and a blonde teenage girl in the aisle seat, try to scoot away as I blow my nose for the 5th time. Only there's nowhere to go. Well, the blonde girl can technically get up and go to the bathroom, but she's already done it 3 times to get away from me, so she stays put, giving me the occasional side-eye. I don't blame her. The only thing worse than a crying baby on a plane is a crying adult.
You, okay?
The balding man finally ventures, and I bob my head, forcing out a watery smile. Yes, sorry, just, I swallow a lump in my throat. A bad breakup. Oh, cool, the teenager says, visibly brightening. I thought you'd just learned you had cancer or something. I wince, feeling like an asshole. Because she's right, it could be so much worse. People have real tragedies, bad things they can't avoid, whereas the pain I'm feeling is entirely self-inflicted. I hooked up with Marcus Corelli, a hedge fund billionaire who's so far out of my league as to reside on a different planet. I fell for him, knowing we had no future, and now I'm paying the price. I once had a bad breakup too, the teenager confides, chewing on her green, sparkly thumbnail. The asshole cheated on me with my best friend in middle school, kissed her behind the bleachers. Can you believe that? Oh, wow, that's terrible. I'm sorry, I say sincerely. Middle school or not, that had to have hurt. At least Marcus never cheated on me. He disappeared for 3 days after an amazing weekend together, but as far as I know, no other women were involved. Well, except Emmeline. She, or her equally perfect clone, was always there between us. Yeah, well, happens, the girl says, shrugging philosophically. What about you? What did the jerk do? I swallowed again. He chased me down at the airport and asked me to move in. Both the girl and the man stare at me like a jellyfish just sprouted from my head, so I rush to explain. He didn't mean it, not the way people normally do. It's just a convenience thing for him. He's going to marry someone else. He told me so when we first met, and he's engaged? The girl exclaims in horror, and I shake my head. No, they haven't started dating yet. It might not even be her, necessarily. It's just that he has a very particular criteria, you see, and I don't fit it. At all. We have chemistry, but that's not enough for a long-term relationship. I'm not the type of girl he'd want to introduce to his friends or clients. At best, I'm just a diversion for him, and sooner or later, he's going to get bored and walk away. And then, I drag in a shaky breath, then it'll be so much worse.
So you, sent this fellow packing preemptively?
The man looks fascinated, like he's getting special insight into the female psyche.
Kind of like striking first in battle to minimize your losses?
I nod and blow my nose again. Something like that. Except if the goal was to win said battle, I've already lost. My heart belongs to the man I walked away from, and it's hard to imagine it hurting more than it does now. Still, I'm sure I made the right choice when I broke it off with him. If I feel this way after a weekend together, how much worse would it be if I'd actually been with Marcus for some time? No, this is the only way. Rip off the Band-Aid, along with a chunk of my heart in this case, and move on. The wound is bound to heal over time. Isn't it? Chapter 2. Emma. By the time we land, I know way too much about my seatmates, as they seem to have jointly decided that the best way to keep me from crying over my breakup is to entertain me with detailed stories about themselves. As a result, I've learned that Donnie, the 50-something man, is originally from Pennsylvania but resides in Florida, has been divorced twice, owns a car dealership in Winter Park, and can't eat anything green. While Ayla, the teenager, is a rare Florida native, has a sister who's been divorced 3 times, and is graduating from high school next year. Ayla, not the sister, that is. The sister dropped out of high school. Oh, and Ayla's allergic to tree nuts but has no issues with green stuff. Bye. Nice meeting you. I wave to them as they hurry past me with their bags, and they wave back, obviously relieved to be done with the flight and the crazy redhead crying over a man who asked her to move in. I'm relieved too. Not because I didn't enjoy their stories. They did succeed in distracting me from my heartache. But because I'm eager to see my grandparents and feel the warm Florida air on my skin. The humidity here is murder on my curly hair, but it'll feel amazing after that brutal snowstorm in New York. Gramps is waiting for me inside the terminal, right by the shuttle exit, and I pick up my pace until I'm running toward him, the suitcase bouncing behind me. Though we frequently Skype, I haven't seen him in person in a year, and my chest feels like it'll burst from joy as I let go of the suitcase handle and tackle hug him, grinning like a loon. Despite nearly 80, my grandfather is still sturdy, his shoulders unbowed, and his chest thick with muscle. He also smells exactly as I remember, like Grandma's cookies and starched linen. Pulling away, I study him, and I'm pleased to see that despite a few deeper wrinkles, he looks pretty much the same as last year. He's studying me right back, and I see the exact moment he notices my red-rimmed eyes.
What happened?
He demands, his bushy eyebrows snapping together.
Were you crying?
No, of course not. Just got some lemon juice in my eyes, I lie, grabbing the handle of my suitcase. I was squeezing a slice into my water on the plane, and it squirted right into my face.
Lemon, huh?
Gramps takes the suitcase from me as we start walking to the exit.
I thought it might have something to do with that Wallstreet boyfriend of yours.
What, Marcus? Oh, no, it's nothing like that. Besides, I told you, he's not my boyfriend. He's not my anything any longer, but I'm not going to delve into that now. Maybe later, once I've had a chance to settle in and have some of Grandma's cookies, I'll find the strength to crush my grandparents' hopes. But right now, I'm too drained for that. Besides, I'd rather break the bad news to both of them at once.
Well, whatever he may be, we're happy for you, Gramps says, unless, of course, he's the lemon in question.
He glances at me as we step on the escalator, and I force out a chuckle. Very funny, Gramps. How about you tell me how you and Grandma are doing?
Oh, same old, which is old.
He winks at me, and my laugh is genuine this time.
How about you, Princess? How was the flight? It looked like it was going to be on time, and then, bam, delay.
Oh, no. Were you already on the way to the airport when you learned about the delay?
I was, but don't worry. I just circled around for a bit, listened to some audiobooks. Your grandmother was worried, though, so you might want to call her as soon as we get to the car. Did they say what the reason for the delay was? Was it because of the snowstorm?
I shrug. They didn't say, but they probably had to de-ice the wings or something. I was lucky the plane took off at all.
That's true. Your grandmother has been glued to the Weather Channel since Monday, tracking the damn storm. You'd think it was one of her Netflix shows.
He snorts, shaking his head, and I conceal a grin. Gramps watches Netflix right alongside Grandma, but for some reason he keeps insisting they're her shows and he's not into them at all. We continue chatting as we step out into the parking lot, and I learn that Gramps got a new fishing rod, and Grandma's already prepped most of the food for tomorrow.
It's too bad your young man couldn't make it,
Gramps comments when we get into the car, and my smile stiffens as I reiterate the excuse I gave them on Skype, that Marcus is crazy busy at work this week. It's true, actually. An investment gone bad is what stole him from my side on Sunday. But I didn't know that on Saturday, when Marcus met my grandparents over Skype and they invited him to Florida for Thanksgiving. I just knew it was insane to bring him with me so early in the relationship, so I blurted out that excuse, and thank God I did. If my grandparents had been expecting him to come with me, it would have been infinitely worse. Once we pulled out of the parking lot, I call my landlady, Mrs. Metz, to check on my cats. "All fed and snug on your bed?" she informs me cheerfully, and I thank her again for taking care of my fur babies while I'm gone. Next, I call Grandma and assure her that my flight was fine and that I'm looking forward to seeing her soon. She describes all the dishes she's making for tomorrow in drool-inducing detail, and by the time I hang up, I'm ready to eat my own foot.
"She packed a little something for you,"
Gramps says, apparently reading my mind.
"It's in the cooler in the back seat. She figured you'd be hungry after the flight."
I wasn't, until Grandma made me hungry with all those cookbook-worthy descriptions. But what are you going to do? Twisting around, I grab the cooler and start munching on cut fruit and cheese sticks as Gramps launches into a story about a new couple he and Grandma have befriended, along with random goings-on in their community. Flagler Beach, their little town on the northeast coast of Florida, is about a 90-minute drive from Orlando, but Gramps hates I-4, the most direct route that goes through downtown Orlando, so we end up taking the longer way. According to Gramps, it's worth it, as the extra 20 minutes buys him peace of mind.
"Won't get stuck in traffic this way,"
he informs me, and I refrain from pointing out that by taking the longer route each time, even in the off hours, when the probability of a traffic jam is low, he spends more time on the road overall than by always taking the I-4 and occasionally getting stuck. In any case, it's almost midnight by the time we pull up to their house. To my surprise, Grandma, who normally goes to sleep around 10, is wide awake and nicely dressed as she greets us in the driveway, where a sleek white Mercedes is parked next to Grandma's ancient Beetle, likely as a favor to some neighbor. "You should have gone to bed," I chide, embracing her, and she laughs, her gray eyes gleaming with barely suppressed excitement as she pulls away, leaving behind a cloud of her favorite jasmine perfume. "To bed? When my favorite granddaughter is coming home? I'm not so old that I can't stay up for a couple of hours past my bedtime. Besides, I couldn't go to sleep with such a big surprise waiting for you," she says, beaming, and I realize that in addition to wearing perfume and going-out clothes, she still has her daytime makeup on.
"What surprise?"
Gramps, who's coming up behind me with the suitcase, sounds as puzzled as I feel.
"And whose car is that?"
He glances over his shoulder at the Mercedes. Grandma grins. "Come inside and see." She hurries ahead, and Gramps and I exchange confused looks before following her in. I enter first, with Gramps wheeling the suitcase behind me, but I only make it 2 steps before my feet grow roots, and I freeze in place, gaping at the sight in front of me. In the middle of my grandparents' living room, standing next to their gently worn couch, is a tall, powerfully built man with hard, strikingly masculine features. Thick, dark eyebrows, a sharply cut jaw, high cheekbones above lean cheeks darkened by a hint of stubble. Everything about the bold lines of his face heats my blood and sends my pulse into overdrive. Instead of his usual perfectly tailored suit, he's dressed in a pair of designer jeans and a casual white button-up shirt, the same outfit I saw him in at the JFK airport in New York less than 5 hours ago. When he kissed me and asked me to move in, and looked at me like I stabbed him in the heart when I refused and got on the plane. Marcus Corelli, the Wall Street billionaire I fell in love with despite my better judgment, is here, in my grandparents' house, his cool blue gaze trained on me with the intensity of a hawk tracking his favorite prey.
Chapter 3. Marcus. Emma's gray eyes are so huge I could drown in them, her freckles standing out in stark relief as all color leaves her already pale face. Her curls are wilder than usual, floating around her head like a halo of fire, and her small, curvy body is stiff with shock as she stares at me from across the room, her equally stunned grandfather behind her. "Hi, kitten," I say calmly, even as dark anticipation boils in my blood, mixing with lingering fury and hurt. "Guess what? I wrapped up my work early and decided to surprise you." "He flew into the Daytona Beach airport and got here a half hour ago. Can you believe it?" Mary Walsh exclaims, all but bursting from excitement. I wanted to call you, but Marcus thought it might be more fun to greet you when you got here. We've been having tea and cookies and— Excuse me, Emma says tightly. Recovering from her paralysis, she marches toward me, grabs my arm, and faces her grandparents. Marcus and I need to talk. Mary's face drops as she realizes her excitement isn't shared. Of course, I'm sure you two need to— I don't hear the rest of what she says because Emma drags me out of the house. Not literally, of course. She's tiny compared to me. But by tugging on my arm with enough force that I wouldn't be able to resist without her grandparents catching on that my presence isn't exactly welcome. They must already suspect that as is. Delicate fingers digging violently into my forearm, Emma tows me down the street until we're 2 houses over and hidden from her grandparents' eyes by the neighbor's lush landscaping. Then, and only then, she releases my arm and steps back, glaring up at me with so much fury each curl on her head seems to be dancing a jig. What the fuck are you doing here? She hisses, little fists balled at her sides. I told you it was over, and I refuse to accept it, I inform her grimly, though what I really want is to grab her and kiss some sense into her, or better yet, fuck it into her. But in deference to our public location, I say, at the very least, you owe me an explanation. You came all the way out here for an explanation? Have you not heard of an invention called the phone? You can call and text on it. Hell, you can even email. Her tone is pure sarcasm, and it makes it that much harder to keep my hands off her delicious little body, which is clad in a pair of tight jeans and a tucked-in t-shirt, a basic outfit that nonetheless highlights her full, heart-shaped ass and nipped-in waist. The yellowish light cast by the street lamp, combined with the high humidity in the air, is giving her porcelain skin a soft, dewy glow. Are you saying you would have actually responded? I ask evenly. Because I called you when I was on the way to the airport, repeatedly, only to get your voicemail. Her chin juts out. Maybe I would have. Either way, you had no business showing up at my grandparents' house. How did you get here, anyway? All the flights into Daytona have been sold out for ages. A humorless smile curves my lips. I have a private jet, kitten. And a pilot who was able to change our flight plan from Orlando to Daytona Beach as soon as I realized the Daytona airport is closer to my intended destination. As for showing up at your grandparents' house, they invited me for Thanksgiving, remember? Her eyes widen at the mention of the jet, but then her eyebrows snap together. That was before we broke up. If they knew, but they don't, do they? And you don't seem in a big rush to tell them. I cock my head. Why is that? Could it be you're not as certain about your decision as you seem? I am certain. Her small fists tighten further, even as she takes an involuntary step back. I told you, I don't want to see you again. There it is, the contradictory body language I've been looking for. Stepping after her, I ask in a deceptively soft tone, Why? She blinks up at me. What do you mean, why? It's a simple question. Raising my hand, I tuck a bouncy curl behind her ear. Why don't you want to see me again? Well, because I don't, okay? She moves to step out of my reach, but I catch her hands in mine. Why? I repeat, rubbing my thumbs over the insides of her wrists. Sure enough, underneath the silky skin, her pulse is racing. She's not indifferent to me, far from it, which is why this decision of hers makes 0 sense. I'd never chase after a woman who doesn't want me, but Emma does. I've tasted her desire for me, felt it drip all over my lips and tongue. Why? Because we're not compatible. Yanking her hands out of my grip, she steps back, her chest heaving with visible agitation. This isn't going anywhere, so there's no point in not going anywhere. Anger, hot and potent, rises in me, mingling with the lust pounding through my veins. What the fuck are you talking about? I asked you to move in. Because you don't want to deal with bridges and tunnels, she all but shouts, stepping up and rising on tiptoes to get into my face. It's a laughable attempt. She barely comes up to my chin, but the wind blows her curls to tickle my neck, and instead of amusement, I feel a hot stab of desire, a need so powerful it obliterates the remnants of my self-control. Without a thought for the neighbors, I catch her face between my palms and bend down to kiss her. At first, she's stiff and passive, not resisting but not participating either. But then her hands slide into my hair, her nails digging into my skull as her tongue angrily pushes against mine. And what do the two of you think you're doing? The reedy voice is like a shotgun going off next to us. Startled, we spring apart and face the intruder, a tiny woman standing on the lawn in front of us who looks old enough to have been born during the Civil War. Dressed in a flowery robe that covers her frail body from neck to toe, she's leaning on a walker and glaring at us, the few wisps that remain of her hair waving in the breeze around her deeply wrinkled face. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Potts," Emma says breathlessly, pushing her curls off her face with an unsteady hand. It's hard to tell in this light, but I'm pretty sure she's blushing. "We didn't mean to bother you." The old woman squints at her. "Emma? Is that you, sweetheart? And who is this?" Angling her walker toward me, she peers up at me. "Is this the young man your grandmother was telling us about?" "Oh, yes, this is Marcus. Marcus Corelli. He's visiting. From New York, where he lives, you know." Emma is babbling, clearly off balance, and despite the painful pressure in my balls, I can't help but enjoy her discomfort. It's the least she deserves for putting me through the ringer. Finally, I decide to take pity on her. Stepping toward her, I drape a proprietary arm around her waist and smile at the older woman. "I'm Emma's boyfriend, here for Thanksgiving. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Potts. I apologize if we have bothered you in any way." She snorts and waves a gnarled hand. "Oh, it's no bother. I thought it was the teenagers from down the street up to no good as usual. You two go on now. Do your thing. Just use condoms, okay?" Turning, she shuffles toward her house, and I choke down a shocked laugh. When I glance down at Emma, however, she's glaring up at me with renewed fury, no trace of amusement on her face. "Boyfriend," she hisses, pushing me away as soon as Mrs. Potts is out of earshot. "You are not my boyfriend." My own amusement vanishes. "That's not what your grandparents think. In fact, your grandmother was ecstatic to learn you're moving in with me. She worries about you living in the city by yourself. Did you know that? Almost as much as she worries about the fact that you haven't dated anyone since college. Before me, that is. She's very happy we're dating." For a moment, I'm almost certain Emma is going to deck me. That or explode on the spot. "You told my grandmother we're moving in together?" "I did." I smile darkly. "Are you going to tell her otherwise? Ruin her holiday?" I'm being a manipulative bastard, I know, but I'm fighting for us, and I have no intention of losing. For a moment, Emma seems struck speechless. Then her temper goes supernova. You ass!" Her curls are all but vibrating with outrage. "Who the hell do you think you are?" My smile darkens further. "Your boyfriend, kitten. Soon to be your live-in boyfriend, at least as far as your grandparents are concerned. Unless, of course, you don't mind telling them, and me, why exactly you want this to be over." "I told you, because we're not compatible," she says through gritted teeth. "You want your perfect Emmeline, and I—" Emmeline? A puzzle piece. One I would have never found on my own falls into place. "Is that what this is about? Emmeline?" Emma's entire body stiffens, and I see it then, the pain underneath the outrage and anger. Her eyes are much too bright, glittering with unshed tears, and her chin is quivering ever so slightly. She's hurt. Somehow I hurt her, and all of this is in response to that. Except what does Emmeline have to do with anything? I only had dinner with the woman once, the night Emma and I met through our Emma-Emmeline/Mark Marcus blind date mix-up. The elegant lawyer might have been a good fit on paper, but we had zero chemistry, and throughout the dinner all I could think about was the fiery little redhead I'd briefly mistaken for Emmeline. In fact, Emma only knows about Emmeline because on our first real date, she asked if I ever connected with the woman I was supposed to meet, and I told her the truth. We then talked about the matchmaker and what qualities I want my future wife to... Oh, fuck. I can't believe I've been so blind. I, who have made a career out of connecting dots and seeing what everyone else is missing, have been oblivious to an answer written in large letters in front of my very eyes. Emma, kitten. Moving slowly so as not to spook her, I capture her tightly balled hand between my palms. Tell me something. Why did you send me away the first time? That Friday night when I broke down your door? She blinks. What? Why did you send me away that night? I repeat. After she told me to leave, I'd been so focused on convincing myself it was for the best that I never really pondered why she did it. I suppose I assumed she shared the doubts I had about our relationship at the time, but I never explicitly articulated that to myself. We were having a great time, and all of a sudden you said it's not going to work out and I should leave, I continue. Why? Well, because it was the right thing to do. With the shield of her anger dissipating, she seems so young and vulnerable that my chest swells with tenderness. We're not compatible at all, and not compatible how? She already said that, and I ignored it as an obfuscating non-answer. But what if she meant it? What if she took what I said on our first date to heart, and while my feelings on the matter have evolved with my growing obsession, her doubts about us have never gone away? Her hand twitches in my grasp, her gaze sliding away from mine. You know exactly how. You want a woman who'd be an asset at social functions, like Emmeline or Claire, you know, the politician's wife from House of Cards. And there it is, the core of the matter. I have never seen the show, but I know what she's talking about, having come across an interview given by the actress once. The character she plays, a ruthless politician's perfectly poised wife, is indeed how I'd always envisioned my future romantic partner. Except when I try to do that now, the picture refuses to form in my mind. All I can see is my little redhead, surrounded by her white, fluffy cats. I don't know what that means yet, but I know if I don't convince Emma to give us a chance, I'll never find out. I take a deep breath. Emma, kitten, listen to me. Why are you doing this? She bursts out, her gaze snapping back to my face. Her eyes are glittering brighter, the tears on the verge of spilling over. Why are you here? Do you just like toying with me? One weekend you're all in, the next 3 days you're gone. Yes. Her eyes widen at my callous answer, and I catch her other hand before she can punch me. Yes, I continue, holding her gaze. I like toying with you, kitten. Love it, in fact. I also love fucking you, and I really, really love being with you. I love holding you as you sleep, and I love watching you as you eat. Fuck, even the way you breathe turns me on. If I could, I'd toy with you day and night, keep you in my bed and at my side all the time. Because you are what I need, Emma. Not Emmeline or Claire or some asset. She's staring up at me like she can't believe her ears, and in a way, neither can I. But the very idea of dating another woman feels wrong, repellent even. Maybe in the future, if my obsession with Emma eases, I'll resume my search for the ultimate trophy wife. But right now, all I want is the woman standing in front of me. A woman I need to convince of that, as she's already shaking her head in disbelief. You don't mean that. Pulling out of my hold, she backs away. It's the chemistry talking, that's all. We're too different, Are we, though? Ruthlessly, I advance on her, because it didn't feel like that last weekend. In fact, why did you disappear on Sunday, then? Her voice shakes as I catch her shoulders, stopping her retreat. You forced your way into my life, made me feel like there was something meaningful between us, and then you were just gone. No calls, no texts, nothing. And that was beyond stupid of me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to make any excuses. She's right to be upset. The way I'm drawn to her is so powerful, so overwhelming, that it feels like an addiction. And when I realized on Sunday that I'd allowed it to distract me from my work, I used the emergency at the fund to embark on a detox of sorts. But I didn't think about it from Emma's point of view, didn't consider her feelings when I decided to distance myself from her for a few days. She gave me a chance, and I blew it. Now I need her to give me another one. I'm sorry, I say again, when she remains silent, her gray eyes like dark pools in the dim light of the street lamp. It won't happen again, I promise you that. And dipping my head, I kiss her once more, softly this time, sweetly, or as sweetly as I can with a raging heart-on. It's an apology kiss, a please forgive me gesture. That's how I intended it, at least. But the moment our lips touch, I forget all about my intentions, so caught up in the taste and feel of her that my mind goes blank and my lust turns dark and feral. My hands move of their own accord, one to slide into her hair and the other to grip her hip, pulling her toward me. Mary is heading to bed and she wants to make sure you're all set up for the night. Fuck. Suppressing an irritated growl, I lift my head and stare at Emma's grandfather, who's standing some 20 feet away and regarding us with what can only be described as a gleeful smirk. He must have come out to look for us, and of course, had to catch us just as I was about to remind Emma of what she's missing. Reluctantly, I let go of her, and she spins around to face him, blushing so hard I can see it even in this light. Gramps, hi! So sorry about that. We were going to, that is, we'll be in soon, okay? Just give us another minute. Ted Walsh looks like he's on the verge of laughter. Sure, I'll let Mary know. He heads back to the house, and I grab Emma's hand, turning her to face me. Kitten, listen to me. No, you listen, she hisses, jabbing me in the chest with her index finger. I will not have you playing games with my grandparents. This, whatever this is between us, and they have nothing to do with it. Got it? Got it, I say, suppressing a smile. That fierce scowl on her face is fucking adorable. It really is. And if this is heading where I think it's heading... Fine, then. She blows out a breath, some of her fierceness easing. In that case, you can stay for Thanksgiving, since you're here and all, but, she holds up her jabbing finger, teacher style, this does not mean we're back together. It's purely for my grandparents' peace of mind, and I'm definitely not moving in with you. You're going to stay here tonight, celebrate Thanksgiving with us tomorrow, and then you'll have another emergency at your fund and leave. In the meantime, you're going to keep your mouth zipped and let me answer whatever questions my grandparents have about us. Got it? We'll see. Got it, I confirm out loud, and before she can change her mind, I head toward her grandparents' house, her hand firmly in my grasp and dark satisfaction humming in my veins. My angry little kitten doesn't know it yet, but she just lost the biggest battle of the war, and I'm not leaving until I have her full surrender.
Chapter 4. Emma. My grandparents' happy smiles greet us as we step into the house holding hands, and I know I did the right thing by letting Marcus stay, even if it means further heartache for me. Because I meant what I said. I'm not moving in with him. I'm not even going to see him again after we return from Florida. For now, though, I have no choice but to pretend he's my boyfriend, or at least a man I'm dating, because I don't want to have to explain to my grandparents at midnight why I'm sending away a man who flew all the way from New York to be with me, a handsome, successful man who's undoubtedly everything they want my future partner to be. Well, except for the part where I'm nothing like what he wants. And explaining that to Grandma and Gramps would have been far too painful. I would have broken down in tears, and they would have been devastated on my behalf, and very, very disappointed. They clearly got their hopes up, so much so that they told their neighbors about him. Of course, I'll need to tell them the truth eventually, but it doesn't have to be tonight, or at any time during this trip, really. Because Marcus was right. It would ruin my grandparents' Thanksgiving. It's their favorite holiday, which is why I always try to fly in to spend it with them. They're both meh about Christmas, too commercial, according to Grandma, but they love all the traditions of Thanksgiving. No, it's best if I tell them about the breakup once I'm back in New York. They'll still be upset, but it'll be easier to pretend I'm fine over Skype. Right now, my emotions are too tangled, too raw, especially with Marcus showing up like this. I don't understand why he's here, why he's trying to make it sound like we could have a future when it's beyond obvious that...
"You two lovebirds resolve everything?"
Gramps asks, getting up from the couch as we enter the living room, and before I can respond, Marcus nods and smiles broadly.
"We did, thank you. Emma was just upset that I spilled the beans to Mary. She wanted to be the one to tell you both that we're moving in together."
I see red. I literally do. At first, I'm afraid the blood vessels in my eyes have popped from the explosion of fury blasting through me, but then I realize some of my hair has fallen into my face. Pushing it out of my eyes, I open my mouth to rip into Marcus. There's only so much pretending I'm willing to do, when Grandma lets out a girlish squeal and rushes forward. "Oh, this is so exciting," she gushes, enveloping us both in a perfumed hug. Stepping back, she turns to beam at Gramps. "Isn't it just the best news ever, Ted?"
"Indeed," Gramps says as Marcus sneezes for some reason. "We're so glad Emma will finally be out of that basement studio. Mary told me she'll be moving into your place, right?" "That's right," Marcus says as I try to find the right words to refute this madness. "My apartment has plenty of room for Emma and her cats." "What about your work?" Gramps asks me. "Your bookstore is in Brooklyn, so how will you get there if you live in Manhattan?"
"Oh, I've already asked that," Grandma answers before I can get a word in. "Marcus's private driver," she grins at that, "will take her to the bookstore and bring her back every day. And since the apartment is in Tribeca, just a few blocks from the tunnel, the drive won't take that much longer than her current commute. You know, what with walking to the subway, waiting for the train and all." They've discussed the logistics of my commute? I'm speechless with rage, literally speechless.
"Indeed," Marcus says as I struggle with my paralyzed vocal cords. "It'll be so much safer for her, too. You know the state of those trains these days. Besides, this winter is forecasted to be colder than usual, and she'll be snug and warm in the car." Gazing down at me with a tender expression, he presses me to his side and drops a kiss on the crown of my head. Grandma looks like she's about to melt into a puddle of joy, and even Gramps sniffles, as if he's on the verge of happy tears. The scathing retort I was about to unleash dies on my lips. Because what kind of an asshole would I be if I spoiled this for them? For as long as I can remember, my grandparents have fretted over me. First worrying that my sociopathic mother, their daughter, was neglecting me, then that my childhood with her had left lasting scars on my psyche. Mixed with that worry is deep-seated guilt that their daughter turned out the way she did, along with regret that they didn't sue for custody of me when I was little. "I kept thinking she'd turn around and change her ways, that she'd realize how damaging her behavior was to you, her child," Grandma confided in me tearfully after my mother died, and I, being a dumb 11-year-old, told them what it had been like to live with her. "But she never did she? We should have taken you away from her years ago, and to hell with lawyer fees and courts favoring the mother." Gramps feels the same way, which is why, after I graduated from college, it took every persuasion tactic in my arsenal to convince the two of them to finally retire and move to Florida. They'd been beyond reluctant to leave me alone in Brooklyn, but I knew that year-round sunshine and beachside living was their lifelong dream, and I stood firm, claiming that I was an adult and needed my independence. And so they gave me that, only to continue worrying about me. Though they'd lived in New York for decades, everything about this city scares them now, from the crowds to the winters to the way it's a constant target for terrorists.
and the fact that I'm living there completely on my own makes it infinitely worse, as they keep picturing me getting sick or hurt and having no one around to look after me. Which is why it's so appealing to them, what Marcus is promising right now. Safety, warmth, love, and support. He's homed in on the exact things my grandparents want for me, and by doing so, he's backed me into a corner. I can't deny them this joy, even if it only lasts for a short while. So instead of blasting Marcus with the full force of my outrage, I unobtrusively step out of his embrace and say, "It's getting late. Let's talk more about it tomorrow." After I've had a chance to yell at the lying, manipulative jerk in private. "Of course," Grandma beams. "Come, I've prepped the guest room for you two." Wait a sec. Guest room, as in one room? This being Florida, my grandparents have 2 spare bedrooms, one of which doubles as Gramps' lounge/office, and I'd assumed they'd put Marcus in one of them and me in the other, as befits propriety. But that's not what seems to be happening. A sinking feeling invading my stomach, I follow Grandma out of the living room with Marcus on my heels. "Here we are," she says, throwing open a door to reveal a cozy, softly lit room with a neatly made queen-sized bed and an attached bathroom. "All nice and ready for you two." Oh God, shoot me now. I've never had a boyfriend sleep over at my grandparents' place before, as the last time I was seriously dating someone, my college boyfriend Jim, they still lived in Brooklyn, in a converted 2-bedroom that I shared with them. It was barely larger than my current studio, and the walls were super thin, so Jim and I would go to his parents' house in Long Island to hang out. Which is to say that I don't have any precedent to compare this to. Still, logic would dictate that most grandparents, even liberal ones like mine, wouldn't encourage their granddaughter to engage in premarital sex under their own roof. Of course, my grandparents have never been like most. But is a little prudishness too much to ask for? I really, really don't want to share a bed with Marcus. Or rather, after those brain-melting kisses outside, I want it way too much.
"Thank you, Mary. It looks lovely. We really appreciate your hospitality,"
Marcus says, again taking the lead before I can figure out how to deal with this development. And why is he on a first-name basis with my grandmother? Did they get all buddy-buddy while waiting for Gramps and me to arrive? Stepping around me, he walks into the room, my suitcase in one hand, and a duffel bag that must be his luggage in the other. He probably grabbed them from the living room when I wasn't looking. Except, how does he even have luggage in the first place? To get here so quickly, he had to have jumped on a plane right after I left. Does he keep an overnight bag on his private jet in case he wants to chase some woman on a moment's notice? Wait, why am I worrying about his luggage when we're about to be forced into sharing a bed? This is not a viable sleeping arrangement at all. Given Marcus's intense sex drive and the fact that I go up in flames if he so much as breathes on me, it's pretty much a given that as soon as that door closes, we're going to be horizontal. And for the sake of my sanity, that can't happen. I definitely need to ask Grandma for separate rooms. Only how do I do that without fessing up to the whole deception? She and Gramps have seen me in a robe at his place, so I can't exactly pretend our relationship hasn't progressed that far. As I'm wrestling with this dilemma, Marcus sets down both bags and begins to unpack my suitcase, taking out my clothes and setting them in neat piles on the bed with the calm self-assurance of a man who has every right to handle my things. At any other time, my jaw would be on the floor, but after everything that has gone down tonight, his temerity barely faces me. What does bother me is that my grandmother beams brighter at this arrogant display. To her, it must look like we're already perfectly comfortable with each other, kind of like an old married couple. She probably thinks Marcus is being helpful by unpacking for me, instead of seeing his actions for what they are, a ruthless takeover of my life. I can just see her telling Gramps all about what a nice man Marcus is, so domesticated and caring and organized. At this very moment, he's hanging my t-shirts, actually hanging them in the guest room closet. Oh, and ordering them by color, light to dark, like a serial killer. He must be the one with OCD, not his butler. Good night, sweetheart. Good night, Marcus, Grandma says before I can come up with a solution to the bed problem. Sleep well. With a quick hug, she hurries away, and then there's no choice left. Feeling like I'm entering a dragon's lair, I ball my fists and step into the guest room. Chapter 5. Emma. Marcus hangs up my last t-shirt. I only brought 4, one for each day of the trip, and turns around to face me. His expression is impassive, but there's no hiding the savage heat in his piercing blue eyes as they rake over me from head to toe. I swallow as my body reacts in an instant. You broke your promise. You said you'd keep your mouth shut and—
I never said that. His eyes narrow. I said I got it, as in I understood what you wanted me to do. I never promised to do it, though.
My molars clench so hard I'll have a toothache tomorrow. Stop splitting hairs. You knew what I thought and you played me. I told you what you had to do to stay, and you did the exact opposite. You lied to my grandparents,
did I?
He folds his arms across his chest, causing his shirt to outline the impressively defined muscles underneath.
What did I say that was untruthful?
You said I was moving in with you. I almost shout the words, but at the last moment I remember where we are and lower my voice to a whisper hiss. That is a complete lie, and you—
Oh, but you are. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet.
I stare at him, taken aback by the unshakable certainty in his voice. Is he delusional, or just that used to getting his way? Has no woman ever told him no? Wait a minute. Is that why he's here? Because I rejected him and became a challenge once again? I wondered about that when he disappeared earlier this week, whether that's what my appeal to him had been all along. I doubt many women have sent him away in recent years, but that's exactly what I did the night he broke down the door in my apartment. Of course, less than 2 weeks later, I caved and we had that amazing weekend together. A weekend during which I ceased to be a challenge. Is that it? Is that what all of this is about? I told him no once again? If so, he didn't lie about wanting me instead of Emmeline. He does want me, and he will until I give in, at which point he'll lose interest like he did this weekend. And this time, he might disappear for good. My anger fades, replaced by a squeezing ache in my chest, and I turn away, my eyes stinging anew. I can't do this, not even for my grandparents. I have to put a stop to this charade. Steeling myself, I step toward the door, only to stop when big, warm hands land on my shoulders. Gently, he pulls me toward him, molding my back against the hard planes of his body.
Come to bed, kitten,
he murmurs in my ear, his deep, velvety voice caressing me like a touch.
It's late, and we've both had a long day. We'll sort it all out tomorrow, I promise.
I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to keep the stinging tears in. My treacherous heart is beating much too fast at his nearness, my body turning boneless and languid. His masculine scent surrounds me, a familiar mix of pine and fresh breeze. I can walk out of this room, tell my grandparents the truth, and end this insanity right now. I can salvage what remains of my heart. Except, he did come all the way here. Would a man do that just because a woman he was losing interest in decided not to see him? Private plane or not, it's a 2+ hour flight and time out of his busy schedule. Even chasing me down at the airport seems like a lot of effort if I'm nothing more than an amusing challenge. Is it possible? Could he have truly meant some of the things he said? Does he want me to move in out of something more than logistical considerations? My feet seem to reach a decision before my brain does, and I turn around, tipping my head back to meet his gaze. For a second, we just stare at each other, our bodies so close we are nearly touching. His hands are still on top of my shoulders, the heat from his palms seeping into me, warming me down to my toes. I can see the primal hunger in his eyes, but underneath there's something softer, gentler. Something that makes my chest ache in an entirely different way.
Emma.
He tenderly cups my jaw.
Give this, us, another chance.
I draw in an unsteady breath, my heart thudding in my ribcage. A chance. He's asking for a chance. Another chance for him to hurt me. Or maybe, just maybe, to find out if this could be real. I'm still not... I lick my dry lips. This doesn't mean I'm moving in with you. Something hot and dark blazes in the cool depths of his eyes before he veils the expression.
Understood,
he says roughly, and before I can clarify what he means, he dips his head and covers my lips with his, stunned by the power of what we experienced. Then his eyes widen, and he pushes off me, pulling out with a sudden motion.
Chapter 6. Marcus. Please tell me you're on the pill. My voice is low and strained as I meet Emma's horrified gaze. The post-sex haze is clearing from my head fast. What the fuck is wrong with me? I've never forgotten a condom before, ever. Not as a horny teenager and certainly not as an adult. How do you even forget such a thing? If you're a single, sexually active man with a modicum of brains, using protection is a habit. One so ingrained, you reach for a foil packet at the same time as you unzip your pants. But today, it didn't even blip on my radar. The need to get inside her had been so strong, so overwhelming, that caution and common sense took a long dive off a short pier together. Looking like she might throw up, Emma shakes her head. No, there was no need after Jim and that is, I haven't, but there's always the morning after pill. I'll go get it now. She moves to scramble off the bed, and I instinctively catch her wrist. Wait, it's almost 1 a.m. Are any pharmacies in the area even open? She blinks at me, stumped by the question. Her curls are a wild, frizzy halo around her flushed face, her lips pink and swollen from my kisses. With her naked curves on display and her pale skin abraded in a few places by my stubble, she looks freshly fucked and so delicious that even with my alarm over my fuck-up, my cock begins to stiffen again. Damn it. This can't be healthy. Let me look it up, okay? I say gruffly, letting go of her and getting off the bed so I can focus. Seeing our clothes on the floor, I pick them up and fold them neatly on a dresser, then pull my phone from my pants pocket. As I do so, I catch Emma eyeing me like I'm an alien. What? I ask, and she shakes her head, reaching for a tissue to wipe away the wetness on her leg. Nothing. Just noticing how much of a neat freak you are. I frown as she balls up the tissue and drops it carelessly on the nightstand. I'm not a neat freak, though I do have a strong urge to grab that tissue and dispose of it properly. Glancing down instead, I type 24-hour pharmacy near me into the search bar on my phone, and at least 3 places pop up right away, all just a few miles away. For some bizarre reason, the finding annoys me. I suppose I expected this beach town to be way less civilized, without such urban luxuries as 24-hour pharmacies. Now, though, there's no excuse not to go get the pill, not that I was looking for one. I'm glad we'll be able to get this fixed so quickly. I really am. Well, Emma prompts when I look up. Are any of the pharmacies open? I nod. I'll go grab us the pill. Wait, I'm coming with you. Let me just get cleaned up. Jumping off the bed, she beelines for the attached bathroom, her hair like a flash of fire as she streaks naked across the room. My cock snaps to full attention, and after a second of deliberation, I follow her into the bathroom. My blood feels like heated molasses in my veins, my heart pounding heavily in my chest. She's already reaching into the small stall to turn on the shower, and I place my hands on her luscious hips as I herd her in, arranging us both under the rapidly warming spray. Placing my hand on the small of her back, I lead her to my rental car, and as I'm opening the door for her, I catch her yawning widely. It's contagious, and I immediately have to suppress a yawn of my own. You know, we could go tomorrow morning if you're tired, I say, as she slides into the passenger seat. It's even in the name, the morning after pill. If I'm not mistaken, it can be taken within a couple of days of unprotected sex. Of course, I did come inside her twice, the second time being in the shower. I wonder if that ups the odds that the pill won't work. Come to think of it, just how effective is the thing? Is it absolutely certain to work, or will there still be a chance I got Emma pregnant? Covering another yawn with the back of her hand, she shakes her head. No, let's just go. We're already out here, might as well. Right. Fuck, what is wrong with me? Why did I even suggest waiting until morning? I should be racing to the pharmacy like my fund's performance depends on it, not looking for reasons not to go. Sliding behind the wheel, I shut the door behind me and start the car. As we pull out of the driveway, the living room window lights up. Emma's grandparents are awake and undoubtedly wondering what's going on. Sure enough, a second later, Emma's phone rings. Crap, Grandma just texted me, she says, glancing at the screen. Wants to know if everything's okay. So what are you going to tell her? She blows out a frustrated breath. What can I tell her? I have to come up with some bullshit excuse like a headache that I needed urgent medication for or a prescription I forgot in New York. Of course, then Grandma will worry and, how about you tell her I forgot my medicine in New York, I suggest. Say, a course of antibiotics I'm finishing up. Then all will be explained and she won't worry. Alternatively, we could tell Mary Walsh the truth. I have a feeling she'd be more amused than upset by this situation, but I don't suggest that. I don't think Emma would want her grandparents to know that much about our sex life. That's a good idea, she says, and quickly types a response. A few seconds later, her phone pings again, and she announces triumphantly, It worked! Grandma is pacified and going back to sleep. Excellent. We make a good team. Smiling, I glance at her and catch a flash of her dimples as she grins back at me. We sure do, she says, and as I turn my attention back to the road, one hand resting on my knee, I feel her small hand cover my palm, her fingers lacing through mine in a gentle squeeze.
Chapter 7. Emma. I'm lured out of deep sleep by the delicious aromas of baked apples and pumpkin pie, and the sound of my stomach growling loudly. I'm tempted to ignore it and burrow deeper under my blanket, but a rough male voice murmurs, You awake, kitten? I'm in bed with Marcus, in Florida, at my grandparents' house. Eyes popping open, I sit up and twist around to stare at the billionaire who so ruthlessly chased me here. He's lying on his side, propped up on one elbow, his thick brown hair mussed from sleep, and his eyes heavy-lidded as he meets my gaze. With his hard jaw shadowed with morning stubble and his powerfully muscled torso uncovered by the blanket, he's so potently, deliciously male that my skin warms and my thighs squeeze together in an instinctive attempt to ease the growing ache between them. I decided to take the risk and see where this leads, but without letting Marcus know the depth of my feelings. He's already railroaded me into letting him stay here for Thanksgiving. If he knew that I'm in love with him, there'd be no stopping him. He'd have me moved into his penthouse by dinner time. Morning. Trying not to blush, I pull the blanket up over my breasts. What time is it? A lazy smile curves his lips as his gaze returns to my face. Almost 10. Oh, shit. I was going to help Grandma with breakfast and all the Thanksgiving preparations, but judging by the delicious smells that woke me up, it's too late. Knowing Grandma, she's been at it since the crack of dawn. We did go to sleep late, Marcus points out. Sitting up, he throws the blanket aside to reveal a long, thick, mouth-watering erection. Morning wood, I hope, else the man is seriously obsessed with sex. Gloriously unconcerned with his nakedness, he gets up and stretches, every muscle in his tall, hard body flexing with emotion, then heads to the bathroom with a casual, I'll be right back. I swallow my drool and jump out of bed also. Beelining for the closet, I grab a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, along with underwear, and hurriedly get dressed. I have a feeling that if I'm still naked by the time he returns, we're not emerging from this bedroom until noon. While I wait for Marcus to come out, I pick up my phone to check my email. To my surprise, there's a voicemail from my best friend, Kendall, and a whole array of texts from her. Concerned, I go for the texts first. The first is a link to an article in the New York Herald, followed by, "OMG, Ems, is that you with Mr. Wallstreet on page 7? Then, "It is totally you. Holy crap, I'm friends with a celebrity. They're calling you a mystery redhead. Did you see that? And fuck, that kiss looks hot. He's holding you like he wants to do you right then and there. No wonder you were mum on the orgasm situation. He gives you lots, doesn't he? I can tell. Wait a minute, that was at JFK? Why were you at the airport together? Is he in Florida with you? You sneaky little bitch. He's meeting your grandparents already, isn't he? Why didn't you tell me?" The next 2 texts are pictures of prom-like dresses, followed by, "I plan to wear one of these as your maid of honor, just FYI, and absolutely no Mickey ears. I refuse." Equal parts horrified and confused, I click on the article link in the first text. Sure enough, there's a picture of Marcus kissing me at my gate last evening. The headline reads, "Is one of New York's most eligible getting hitched at Disney World?" What the hell? Heart pounding, I skim over the actual text. Hedge fund billionaire Marcus Corelli was spotted last night at JFK, locking lips with a mystery redhead. The notoriously private head of $92 billion Corelli Capital Management is not known for engaging in PDA, leading bystanders to speculate that the relationship might be serious. According to our sources, the young woman was standing in the economy class line for a flight to Orlando, home of Mickey Mouse, when Corelli pulled her aside for an intense-seeming discussion, culminating in a passionate make-out session. See photo above. The woman then boarded her flight, leaving Corelli at the gate. But the story doesn't end there, as according to a flight plan filed some 15 minutes later, Corelli's private jet flew to Orlando that very evening. Is one of New York's wealthiest bachelors about to get hitched at Disney World to a girlfriend who flies economy class? A real-life Cinderella story may be in the works. Cinderella story? Disney World? Get hitched? What are they smoking? My gaze returns to the second sentence, and I reread it incredulously. Yep, I didn't imagine it. They said $92 billion. Kendall told me Marcus's fund has some insane amount of money under management, but that's like the GDP of a small country. Or a medium-sized country, maybe? Fuck, I should have paid attention in my one and only econ class in college. I'm still hyperventilating when Marcus emerges from the bathroom. His sharp-eyed gaze lands on me, and he swiftly crosses the room to stand in front of me. "What's wrong?" he demands, clasping my shoulders. "Did something happen?" He's still naked, which is bad for my already shaky equilibrium, so I wordlessly hand the phone to him and rush into the bathroom. Closing the door behind me, I lean against it and try to convince my lungs that there's plenty of air to go around, and my brain that this article is nothing to freak out about. Oh, who am I kidding? They have a picture of me making out with Marcus. A picture and an article on page 7, like I'm a Kardashian or something. Oh, and Marcus apparently manages almost $100 billion and is considered one of New York's most eligible bachelors. If that's not a reason to freak out, I don't know what is. Somehow, I managed to get myself over to the sink and go through my usual morning routine of brushing my teeth, washing my face, and so on. It calms me just enough so I'm not on the verge of a panic attack. As the last step, I slather on a thick layer of sunblock. Florida sun is murder on a redhead's complexion, and decide I'm as ready to face the world as I'll ever be. And by world, I mean Marcus, who thankfully is dressed in a pair of jeans and a polo shirt when I come out. He's sitting on the bed, which is now fully made, I note with a part of my brain that started keeping track of his neat freak tendencies, and typing on his phone. Hearing me, he looks up, slips the phone into his pocket, and rises to his feet. "Sorry about that," he says before I can get a word out. "My PR team should have been on top of it. Or rather, I should have been. They could have squashed this if I'd let them know I saw a couple of phones pointed at us yesterday." You did? All my calm goes out the window. Is this a thing that happens a lot?
I mean, the picture and the article and—
No, because my team is on top of it. Usually.
Okay. And you need a PR team because— he sighs.
Because, unfortunately, the media is not always content to focus solely on my fund and our investments. I'm fairly high profile in the business world, and every once in a while some desperate for eyeballs reporter tries to make me into a figure that might be of interest to the general public.
Like one of New York's most eligible bachelors?
Yes, exactly. He grimaces. That article is nothing but speculation, pure clickbait, and they know it. They didn't even bother to mention that we amended the flight plan to fly to Daytona Beach instead of Orlando. Disney World, my ass.
He looks so disgusted that despite my ongoing freakout, my lips twitch with amusement. So, no Mickey ears for our nuptials? I ask with as straight of a face as I can manage, because Kendall was really hoping to wear them as my maid of honor. He doesn't miss a beat.
In that case, I take it back. Disney and Mickey it is. Will you tell her the good news, or should I?
I think we should let the New York Herald do it. They have the inside scoop, I say, and as he laughs, his lean cheeks creasing with those sexy grooves he's got, I can't help but join in, the worst of my panic easing. So what if my picture is in the paper and I'm dating one of New York's most eligible? It's not like I didn't know that Marcus is out of my league. He is, always has been, and this clickbait article changes nothing. Besides, only Kendall knows who the mystery redhead is. Chapter 8. Emma.
So how's our mystery redhead?
Gramps says, walking into the kitchen, and I nearly spit out the coffee I was swishing around in my mouth. At the last second, I swallow it instead, and immediately break into a coughing fit because the hot liquid went down the wrong pipe. Gramps, I choke out when I can speak. Since when do you read the New York Herald? I was sure, dead certain, that my grandparents wouldn't see that piece of insightful journalism. Because why would they? The Herald is basically a local gossip rag full of clickbait stories that make the whole getting hitched at Disney World bit seem like a deeply researched fact.
Since I learned that the man my favorite granddaughter is dating makes headlines, and I set up Google alerts for his name,
Gramps says, as unflappable as ever.
What, you think the internet is the province of the young?
He read it to me first thing this morning. Grandma chimes in from the kitchen island, where she's chopping veggies with the precision of a food processor. I told him not to tease you about it, but he couldn't resist.
Couldn't resist what?
Marcus asks, entering the kitchen. He had to take a work call a few minutes ago and thus missed all the fun. Mentioning the article, Grandma explains as Marcus walks over to sit on a bar stool next to me. I told Ted to keep his mouth shut and not tease Emma, but he didn't listen. Marcus grins.
I can't blame him. Look at how prettily she's blushing. Who could resist?
Leaning over, he wraps his arm around my shoulders and kisses my temple. My face heats immediately. I was red because of my coughing fit, not Gramps teasing. But now that both of my grandparents are beaming at us, I'm blushing for real. I'm going to kill Marcus before this trip is over. I really am. Would you like some coffee? Grandma asks Marcus, graciously coming to my rescue. We don't have anything fancy, but
whatever you have would be great, thank you, he says. I'm in dire need of a caffeine fix, and I'm not picky.
Grandma wipes her hands on a kitchen towel and walks over to the coffee maker to pour a cup of the same Java I'm drinking, which is actually quite fancy. It's some kind of special blend that Grandma orders straight from Colombia. Normally, she's very proud of it, telling all and sundry about how and where the beans are grown. So why did she just try to— Well, of course. Since my grandparents read the article, they know Marcus is a billionaire. And not just any billionaire, but a Wall Street titan whose fund has almost $100 billion under management. Actually, they must have known that even before the article, since Gramps set up those Google alerts. He probably looked up Marcus at some point after our Skype session, and this is the result. My grandparents might not show it, but they're at least somewhat intimidated by their guest's wealth.
Why else would Grandma downplay the awesomeness of her Colombian elixir? "Here you go," she says, handing Marcus a cup, and he thanks her before taking a big sip. Immediately, his eyes widen, and he looks at the cup, then at my grandmother.
"Mary, this is amazing coffee. Where on earth did you get it?"
Grandma lights up like a Christmas tree. "You like it? I order it from this one small farm in Colombia, near the Amazon rainforest." She launches into her usual spiel about the farm's fair trade practices, and I tune her out to study my new boyfriend, or whatever Marcus is to me now. Needless to say, my plan of pretending to be together for my grandparents' sake while keeping him at a distance failed miserably. I still have no intention of moving in with him, but I can't deny that we are, at the very least, dating again. Or rather, sleeping together and spending Thanksgiving with my family. Speaking of which, Marcus seems exceedingly comfortable with my grandparents. I guess I shouldn't be surprised after the way he jumped at a chance to meet them on Skype. But it's still quite impressive to me. My college ex had always been so stiff around them, so afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing. To Jim, my grandparents had been dinosaurs, so ancient and strange that he never bothered getting to know them as individuals, or paying them much attention. Marcus, however, is not only listening to my grandmother with total concentration, he's asking follow-up questions, interacting with her as he would with me. To him, my family isn't unwelcome baggage that comes along with dating me. They're people, and judging by his demeanor, people he likes and respects. Grandma and Gramps have already had breakfast. Despite going to bed late, they woke up early, as usual. But they keep us company as we devour the leftovers, zucchini pumpkin pancakes with homemade yogurt and local honey. As we eat, Grandma tells Marcus all about the tomatoes she's growing in her garden, and Gramps asks Marcus a zillion questions about the market and which stocks to invest in. "Gramps, he can't just tell you that," I chide when my grandfather first gets on the topic. "That's like insider trading or front-running or something."
"Only if I'm disclosing material, non-public information or telling him about a trade my fund's about to make," Marcus says, smiling at me warmly. "There's nothing wrong with your grandfather asking my opinion on various investments."
"Oh, okay. I wasn't sure," I mumble, forking a piece of pancake into my mouth. "In that case, carry on." And they do. By the time breakfast is over, I feel like I've sat through an hour of CNBC, only with vastly smarter talking heads. My grandfather must have gotten even more into investing in the past year because he seems to know all the right things to ask. Or maybe it just feels that way to me because Marcus answers all of his questions without the slightest hint of condescension. Either way, all the stock talk leaves Gramps so pumped up that as soon as we get up and thank Grandma for the delicious pancakes, he runs straight for his laptop, presumably to buy some of the investments he and Marcus have discussed. "Thank you for that," I tell Marcus as we walk back to our room. "You made him so happy."
"Did I?"
He gives me a sidelong look.
"What about you, kitten?"
"Me?
Did I bore you with all the investment chatter?"
"Oh, no, not at all." And to my surprise, it's true. Though the topic isn't something I'm interested in, observing Marcus in his element had been fascinating. Not only does he possess bottomless knowledge about the stock market and many publicly traded companies, he has a way of conveying it that makes the normally dull-to-me subject come alive. Partially, it's the way he speaks, with a kind of quiet authority that commands attention. Mostly, though, it's how he seamlessly weaves the human element into the numbers, talking about investor psychology and CEO personalities in the same breath as profit margins and valuation metrics. Listening to him, I understood why my grandfather and so many others fall into stock investing as a hobby, and why Marcus himself is so passionate about what he does. He smiles warmly.
"I'm glad. You didn't look bored, but you were very quiet."
"Nope, not bored at all." Entering the guest room, I stop and turn to face him. "So, what are your plans for today? I mean, do you have some ideas for what you want to do before our Thanksgiving dinner?" Marcus's gaze instantly strays to the bed, and I clarify, "Besides that." He grins down at me, blue eyes gleaming.
"Well, this is Florida, so I was thinking we could go to the beach. Unless you have other suggestions, I'm open to whatever."
You don't have other work calls or anything? Before he showed up, I planned to spend most of my vacation hanging out on my grandparents' lanai with my laptop, getting ahead on edits, and maybe even working on the first chapter of my own super secret story. Now, however, all of that is out the window, unless Marcus also plans to work part of the day. He lifts his eyebrows.
You sound disappointed. Do you want me to work?
No, of course not. Unless you have to. I'll totally understand if you have to. And yes, maybe a part of me wants him occupied with something other than me, so I can catch my breath and try to maintain some equanimity. I've been the sole recipient of his attention for most of last weekend, and it had been beyond heady, so much so it had nearly crushed me when he left and subsequently disappeared for 3 days. If he's going to be here until Sunday, and I suspect he will be, as despite my ultimatum last night, he hasn't said a peep to my grandparents about flying back to New York City tonight, I need to find a way to protect myself, to keep at least a portion of my heart shielded in case he flips the switch from hot to cold again. His lips curve wryly as understanding glimmers in his gaze.
How about we bring some folding chairs and our laptops to the beach? We can swim if the water is warm enough, and if not, we can just enjoy the ocean breeze while catching up on some work. I'm guessing you have something you need to get done, editing-wise?
Well, kind of, I admit sheepishly. It's nothing urgent, but—
Say no more. If there's anything I understand, it's wanting to have a productive vacation.
I smile up at him. Okay, great. Let me just grab my things and—
Wait.
He catches my arm.
Before you do that, there's something I've been meaning to do all morning.
Oh? I say breathlessly, my head tipping back as he grips my hips and draws me against his tall, hard body. What's that? His voice turns husky.
This.
And dipping his head to kiss me, he maneuvers us toward the bed.
Chapter 9. Marcus. It's official. I'm an animal when it comes to Emma. We had sex less than a half hour ago, yet as my hand glides over the smooth skin of her back, covering it with sunblock before we exit the car, all I can think about is how much I want to run my tongue up the indentation of her spine, and how much I love seeing the red, hickey-like marks on the junction between her neck and shoulder, where I sucked and nibbled on her tender flesh a little too hard last night. It's wrong and completely Neanderthal of me, but I want everyone who looks at her at the beach today to know that she's mine. Please don't forget to spread it under the bikini straps and the waistband of the shorts, she murmurs, glancing at me over her shoulder. Her gray eyes are bright in the sunlight pouring in through the car windows, her freckled cheeks softly flushed under the wide brim of her hat. I always get the most awful sunburn right around the edges of my swimsuit. Don't worry. My voice comes out thicker than I intended. I've got you. I finish covering her back and shoulders with a thick layer of sunblock, making sure to go under the straps of her yellow bikini top and into the jean shorts covering her bikini bottoms. Then I hand her the tube. All done. What about you? She asks as I reach for the door handle. Do you want me to apply it to your back? Maybe later. Between seeing her without a shirt and smearing the lotion on her deliciously soft skin, I'm already battling a beach-inappropriate erection. If she starts touching me, we might not leave the car, and I may need to explain a public indecency charge to her grandparents when they come to bail us out of jail. Stock market advice or not, Ted Walsh might not like me very much after that. Exiting the car, I inhale deeply, drawing the warm, humid air into my lungs. It smells like salt, sun, and sand. According to my car's dashboard, it's 84 degrees outside, an unusually hot day for late November in northern Florida, which probably explains why the boardwalk and the beach in front of us are teeming with people, both tourists and locals alike. Thankfully, nobody is looking at the bulge in my shorts as I walk over to the trunk to take out the beach chairs we borrowed from her grandparents. Holding the chairs under one arm, I reach into the back seat and grab my laptop bag, which holds both of our computers. I got the rest of it. Emma says, opening the opposite door to take out the bag with our towels and water. As she stretches to grab it from the middle of the back seat, the top of her bikini bra gapes open, letting me catch a glimpse of a pink nipple. Fuck. That's not helping the bulge situation at all. Plus, I'm now pissed because if I caught that glimpse, some passerby could have as well. And those sweet nipples are for my eyes only, as is that luscious ass in those too short shorts. Clenching my teeth, I straighten and take a deep breath as I lock the car. Maybe the beach wasn't such a good idea. Emma half naked in public isn't something I handle well, it seems. This way, she says, heading toward the steps leading down to the beach, and after another settling breath, I follow her, making sure to hold the bag in front of me as I walk. She goes straight for the shady area under the pier, and I set up our chairs about a dozen feet from the wet line in the sand to keep our laptops safe from the waves aggressively lapping at the shore. Down here by the water, it's much cooler than it was on the boardwalk, and the breeze is fresh and salty, as invigorating as only the ocean air can be. "Excuse me, ma'am," Emma says to a middle-aged woman lounging on a towel near us. "Would you mind watching our things while we swim?" "Sure, happy to," she says with a hint of a southern accent. "You folks go ahead." "Thank you," Emma says, and taking off her hat, she gathers her hair into a thick, messy bun on top of her head. Next, she unzips her shorts and pushes them down her legs, revealing yellow bikini bottoms that cover even less of her ass than those tiny shorts. "Come here," I growl, stepping toward Emma, and ignoring her squeals, I swing her into my arms and carry her into the water, not stopping until we're chest deep. Well, I'm chest deep, and she's clinging to my neck to keep the waves from hitting her in the face. "You monster!" she shrieks, climbing up my body like a monkey when a particularly large wave tries to cover her anyway. "This water is freaking cold!" I grin into her outraged face. I know. Refreshing, isn't it? And most importantly, erection reducing. "No!" She wipes the salt spray off her face. "You suck!" "You planned to go swimming, didn't you?" "Not like this. I was going to wade in slowly, let myself adjust to this ice bath." She looks so offended by the 75-degree water, I can't help but laugh. "It's not that cold, kitten. Besides, sometimes it's better to just jump in, take a plunge, and then worry about adjusting." She licks her rosebud lips. What if you never adjust?" Her gray gaze turns somber. "What if you simply can't?" "And what if you can?" I counter, knowing we're no longer talking about the water temperature. Holding her against me with one arm, I frame her pretty face with my palm. "What if it's the only way?" She blinks at me, her auburn lashes sweeping down and up. "You really think that?" "I do," I say firmly. "I really do." And as another wave breaks against my back, I press my lips to hers, tasting the salt of the ocean spray and the addictive sweetness of her.
Chapter 10. Emma. Our breakfast was pretty much a brunch, and Grandma likes to eat dinner early, so we skip lunch and spend the entire afternoon on the beach, alternately lounging in the chairs and swimming. True to his word, Marcus lets me work on my laptop when we're between swims, and I managed to edit a good chunk of a shifter romance novella due next Friday. Afterward, I call my landlady to find out how my cats are doing, and I learn that while Cotton Ball and Queen Elizabeth are as well-behaved as always, Mr. Puffs has decided that my favorite pillow makes a great claw scratcher. Needless to say, there's shredded memory foam all over my bed and floor. "I was going to clean it up, but he started hissing at me," Mrs. Metz says fretfully. "You'll have to deal with it yourself. I swear that cat of yours is part demon." Part demon? She's being generous. It's more like 90%. "I'm so sorry about that. He probably just misses me." I lie. No need to scare the woman by admitting that Mr. Puffs is always like that. "And please, don't worry about cleaning up. I'll take care of it when I return on Sunday. Thank you again for watching them for me." "Oh, it's no problem, dear. Happy to help anytime. Oh, and I almost forgot to ask you, Did your boyfriend get in touch with you? He came by here right after you left for the airport, was looking for you. Oh. I hadn't realized Marcus went by my apartment before driving to the airport to catch me. Is that how he knew when my flight was? Because now that I'm thinking about it, I never told him my flight number or what time I was supposed to fly out. All I said was that I'm going to Florida on Wednesday. Making a mental note to ask Marcus about this, I tell Mrs. Metz, "Yes, he caught up with me. Everything is fine, thank you." "Oh, okay, good." She clears her throat. "Wait, did you say caught up? Is he there with you now?" Yes. Yes, he is. In fact, at this very moment, he's staring at me as I pace by the edge of water with my phone, his gaze as hot as the sun baking my shoulders. I stepped away to make this call so I wouldn't bother him, but I seemed to be distracting him from work anyway. Which is fair, as having those sculpted pecs and 8-pack abs next to me as I tried to edit was quite distracting, to the point that I kept picturing him in place of the novella's werewolf hero during every steamy scene. I hoped the heroine wasn't left with 3 arms or an extra pair of shoes because of that. "So, you two are serious?" Mrs. Metz presses. "I didn't even know you were dating anyone." "Well, I lose my train of thought as Marcus stands up and moves the chairs deeper into the shade, the muscles in his powerful body flexing with the movement. Turning away from the mouth-watering sight, I manage to say, "I'm not sure yet." "Okay, well, if you two decide to move in together, do let me know. I'm thinking of putting the townhouse on the market. So if you want to be let out of the lease early..." She trails off, but I get the hint, and my stomach tightens with a rush of dread. She wants me to vacate the basement studio, but is too nice to kick me out before my current lease is up, which is in 8 months. I was counting on her to let me renew with only a small rent increase, same as in prior years, but that's clearly not happening. Moreover, now that I know she wants to sell, I'd be an ass to stay for the full 8 months. Mrs. Metz has always been accommodating, so much so she let me pay late when I had unexpected vet bills or other emergencies. I'll start looking for a new place as soon as we return to New York, I promise, even as my mind whirls with growing panic. Where am I going to find another apartment in my price range? Property values and rents in Brooklyn have skyrocketed in the past couple of years, and the only reason I've been paying so little is because my apartment hasn't been renovated in ages. And what about moving expenses? Will my cheap furniture even survive the move? That's wonderful, thank you, dear. Mrs. Metz sounds relieved. She must really want me gone. I'll give you a good reference, and I'm sure that new boyfriend of yours can help out. He looks like he's done well for himself. Oh, Yes, he has. Does she know Marcus is a billionaire, or was she just impressed by his clothes and car? Either way, believing that I have a wealthy boyfriend to lean on seems to be a balm to her conscience, so I refrain from telling her that I have no intention of accepting Marcus's help with the move, especially of the monetary kind. If he wants to carry a few boxes for me, I might take him up on that, if only because I want to see those biceps in action. That's good. I'm so happy for you, dear. Now I have to run. Talk to you soon. Mrs. Metz hangs up, and I lower my phone to stare blankly at the screen. I'm still staring at it when strong arms wrap around my waist and a big, sun-warmed body presses against my back. Something wrong, Marcus murmurs, dipping his head to nibble on my ear. You've been standing here a while. Oh, no, everything is fine. Though I'm still reeling from the conversation with Mrs. Metz, my body reacts to his nearness, same as always, my heart pounding faster and my skin flushing with heat that has nothing to do with the sun. Stepping out of his embrace, I turn around and paste on a smile. I'm just missing my fur babies, that's all. There's no way I'm telling Marcus I'm about to be homeless. Knowing him, I'd wake up on Monday with all my things already in his penthouse. A smile curves his lips. I see. Well, you'll be back before long. Sunday afternoon is your flight, right? Yep. Speaking of which, I squint against the glare of the sun. How did you know what time my flight was yesterday? Did my landlady tell you? A strange expression crosses his face. It's gone so quickly, though, I might have just imagined it.
Yes,
he says without missing a beat.
I came to your apartment to talk to you, and she told me you'd left for the airport.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I grin up at him. Ready for another swim?
Chapter 11. Marcus. I give Emma a dozen chances to come clean for the rest of our time on the beach as we drive back to her grandparents' house, but she says nothing about the news she received. Or at least I'm hoping she received. It's possible Clara Metz didn't take the bait, though the realtor I sent to talk to her this morning said Emma's landlady definitely seemed intrigued. But no. My little redhead looked upset when she got off the phone, far more than warranted by the brief separation from her cats. I feel bad about causing her distress, but I see no other choice. I have to get Emma to move in with me, and what better way than getting her to move, period. Besides, even if I hadn't sent the realtor to enlighten Emma's landlady as to the rising property values in her neighborhood, Metz would have caught on eventually and told Emma to move out so she could spruce up the place and take advantage of the seller's market. I'm merely expediting the inevitable. The idea occurred to me this morning while Emma slept, and I wasted no time implementing it. When I asked her to move in with me at JFK, I told her she could keep her studio if she wanted, but I've since changed my mind. Not only does my kitten need a major push to overcome her hesitations about us, but once I actually get her into my place, I don't want her to be able to leave on a whim. So this is the strategy I've settled on. Get a realtor to speak to Clara Metz and encourage her to put the townhouse up for sale, so Emma would have no choice but to move. If need be, I can go further and actually buy the townhouse myself, but this is better, subtler. I don't want Emma to discover my involvement in this, just as I don't want her to know about the private investigator I hired to get me all the information on her, including her flight number. It's best if she remains in the dark on this. It would scare her to realize the lengths to which I'd go to make her mine. When we get back to the house, we shower off the sand and change. Since we still have a half hour before dinner, I'm tempted to grab Emma for a quickie, but she slips out of the room to help her grandmother before I get the chance. I decide to use the time to fire off a few more work emails instead. During my shower, I had some thoughts on how we can take advantage of tariff-induced stock market volatility, and by the time I'm done, it's 5 o'clock and the table in the dining room is all set and ready. There is a plump, golden-skinned turkey laid out on a silver serving dish, and about 1 million sides surrounding it, each more delicious-smelling than the next. Inhaling appreciatively, I tell Mary how excited I am to try everything, and Emma beams at me as her grandmother flushes with pleasure and her grandfather puffs up with pride, probably because he'd had the good sense to choose such a great wife way back when. We sit down to eat, and as the meal progresses, I realize that this Thanksgiving dinner is the kind I've seen on TV, but have never experienced myself. Everything about it, from the homemade food to the genuine warmth between Emma and her grandparents, makes me feel like I've been dropped into a Hallmark movie. Each recipe seems to have a story behind it, with many having been passed on to Emma's grandmother by her grandmother, and the conversation at the table revolves around that, as well as the latest happenings in Emma's and her grandparents' lives. It's nothing like the tense, awkward holiday meals during my childhood. On the few rare occasions when my mother was sober enough to remember what time of the year it was and had enough cash to buy Chinese takeout, that is. As if picking up on my bitter memories, Mary sets down her fork and turns her attention to me. "Marcus, you mentioned that your parents passed away when you were young," she says, her gaze warmly sympathetic on my face. "How old were you when that happened?" "My father died when I was 2, and my mother passed away when I was 18, I say with practiced casualness, even as my chest tightens unpleasantly. "Liver disease." Ted pauses with a spoonful of cranberry sauce halfway to his plate. "Both of them?" "No, just my mother. My father was killed in a fight." A prison fight, to be exact, but they don't need to know that. This is already more than I've disclosed to anyone in years. Well, anyone except Emma. I'd felt compelled to share the whole ugly truth with her, and now it seems like the same impulse is at play with her grandparents. Some irrational, illogical part of me wants these kind, genuine people to know all the dark, fucked up parts of me, to know and to like me anyway, to let me be a part of their warm, tight-knit family despite the cesspool from which I've come. Disgusted with the pathetic urge, I open my mouth to change the topic, but Mary is not done. "So how did you manage?" she asks me softly. "How did you get through college entirely on your own?" Shrugging, I spear a piece of turkey with my fork. Same as most students, with scholarships, loans, and part-time work. Lots of part-time work, so much that my total work hours exceeded 2 full-time jobs during some weeks. I don't say that, though, as Emma's grandparents already look concerned for the college-aged me. "Most students have family they can rely on for incidental expenses and such," Ted says, frowning. "It must have been incredibly hard not having that safety net. Did you graduate with a lot of debt like our Emma? She wouldn't take a penny from us after high school either." I glance over at her, and she looks away, her face reddening as if from embarrassment. Is this part of her money hang-ups? Does she not want people to know about her student loans? "I had some debt, yes," I tell Ted. "Very little and nothing I didn't manage to pay off within a month of graduation, thanks to the success of my early investments, but I keep my mouth shut about that as well. I don't want my kitten to feel like her strained finances are something she needs to hide." Mary must sense her granddaughter's discomfort because she smiles and says, "Well, you're clearly a long way off from those days, so all is well that ends well." Reaching across the table, she picks up one of the dishes and looks around. "More stuffing?" I gladly accept, and the conversation returns to lighter topics. Ted starts telling me all about Emma as a baby, which causes her to laugh and blush furiously, and Mary keeps urging everyone to try this dish and that, to have an extra serving here and another bite there. My pants won't button tomorrow, but it's totally worth it to see the smile on the older woman's face each time I accept the offering and shower her with praise. We're almost done with dessert, a made-from-scratch pumpkin pie, when Ted innocently steps on a landmine. He asks when exactly we're planning to have Emma move in with me. She stiffens right away and shoots me a Death Star glare, her hand squeezing my knee in a silent warning. I know what she wants, for me to stay quiet while she spouts off some bullshit about how we're not sure yet, blah, 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 but I'm not about to let this opportunity slide. "By the end of next week," I say before she can get a word in. "We'll start packing up Emma's place as soon as we get back to New York." "Oh, that's so wonderful!" Mary's smile is brighter than a solar flare. "The sooner the better, am I right?" "That's right," I grin, ignoring Emma's fingers digging into my leg under the table. "I can't wait to have her with me all the time." Her grandparents look like cats lapping in a saucer of cream, while Emma's hand on my leg turns into a vicious claw, and her narrowed gaze tells me she'd like to murder me, slowly, after first roasting me over a campfire marshmallow style. "There are still a number of logistics we need to straighten out," she says through clenched teeth, "so I don't think next week would work." I give her my most innocent look. "Are you talking about movers? Because I told you, I'll take care of that. Besides, you don't need to bring any of your furniture. My place has everything we need." "Emma, sweetheart," Mary lays a gentle hand on her granddaughter's forearm, "you don't have to be afraid of this. I know change is uncomfortable for you, but this is the good kind, the moving forward kind. Your grandfather and I thought we were close when we were dating, but it was nothing compared to how we felt once we got married and started living together. This is a risk for you, I know, but it's one you can't avoid, not if you want to build a life together." As she speaks, Emma's face goes from pink to white to a blotchy shade in between. "Grandma, please, we're not—" "Mary, leave the poor girl alone," Ted cuts in. "You're embarrassing her in front of Marcus, can't you see? They're adults. I'm sure they'll figure everything out on their own." "We will," I say, smiling at the elderly couple. Gathering Emma's stiff hand into my palm, I move our joined hands from my leg to the empty spot between our plates. I promise you, we'll figure it all out. And ignoring the tension in Emma's arm, I lift our clasped hands and press a kiss to her tightly clenched knuckles.
Chapter 12. Emma. This is ridiculous. The words burst out of me as soon as Marcus and I are alone in our room. You can't keep doing this. He lifts a dark eyebrow.
I can and I will, for as long as it takes for you to accept the inevitable.
The inevitable being that we're going to live together? His smile is pure arrogance.
Exactly.
Ugh, I want to slap him so badly my palm is twitching. We'd had such a good day together, and he'd been so sweet to my grandmother during dinner that I'd almost forgotten what he's really like. A ruthless, manipulative bastard who will stop at nothing to get what he wants, which, for some bizarre reason, happens to be me. I'm so fucked, and not just literally. Gritting my teeth, I focus on the issue at hand. I am not moving in with you. I enunciate each word like I'm talking to a child. Get that through your thick skull. It's not happening.
Oh, but it is.
A dangerous glint appears in his gaze as he advances on me.
Want to bet?
Warily, I back away. You can't sex me into it, even if what? He catches me next to the bed, his big hands descending on my shoulders as the backs of my knees touch the mattress. There's a wicked smirk on his lips, as if he has me exactly where he wants me, which he does. Why did I retreat in the direction of the bed? Do I subconsciously want him to sex me into giving in?
Even if what?
He repeats, his voice roughening as his gaze falls to my lips. Gently, he pushes on my shoulders, and I find myself sinking onto the bed as my legs buckle underneath me. A dazed eye blink later, I'm stretched out on my back, with Marcus leaning over me, his hand working on the zipper of my jean shorts as his blue eyes drill into me.
Even if what, kitten?
Gulping, I try to remember what we're talking about. Even if... The words dissolve in my throat as he lowers his head to kiss my neck. His lips twist.
Believe me, I know.
I swallow, my heart hammering painfully. And what if I give in? What then? Will you break my heart again? Walk away and leave me in pieces? The words dance on the tip of my tongue, but I hold them back. I can't let Marcus know how much he's already hurt me, because then he'd know the truth. He'd realize I'm helplessly head over heels in love with him. His blue eyes darken, and I wonder if I betrayed myself anyway, if he understood my pathetic, what then, for the desperate, love-sick plea it was. Don't hurt me. Don't abandon me. Love me. Slowly, with exquisite care, he presses his lips to mine, the kiss so tender it makes me want to cry.
Then, kitten,
he murmurs, pulling back to gaze at me,
I will give you the world, everything you've ever dreamed of.
And as my heart clenches with agonizing hope, he kisses me again and begins stripping off my clothes. Chapter 13. Emma. Your billionaire better be an alien who carried you off on his spaceship, Kendall says in lieu of a greeting as she accepts my video call the next morning. Seriously, Ems, what the fuck? I've called you like 50 times since Sunday. 3 times, I correct, wincing internally. And I'm really, really sorry. I was going to call you back, but it's been, well, a lot's been going on. She rakes her fingers through her hair, magically avoiding frizzing up the sleek, dark locks. Yeah, no kidding, Captain Obvious. You and Mr. Billions making out on page 7? I better hear all the juicy details. Right, so... I prop the phone against a flower pot on my grandparents' lanai table and look around, making sure I'm still alone on the screened porch. The coast seems to be clear. My grandparents are at their morning salsa class, and Marcus must still be asleep. For once, I woke up before him and snuck out to make this call. Taking a breath, I turned back to the phone camera. It's kind of a long story. Kendall rolls her eyes. Yeah, get on with it already. I don't have all morning. Well, I do since we're off this Friday, but you know what I mean. Right. Without further ado, I launch into my story, filling her in on everything that's happened since I spoke to her last. From the amazing weekend Marcus and I shared, to his disappearance on Sunday, to the way he chased me down at the airport with his proposal to move in. Wait, what? Kendall looks just as stunned as I felt at the time. He asked you to move in? So soon? And after ghosting you since Sunday? I know. My blood pressure spikes anew. That's totally insane, right? And when I refused and told him it was over, he came after me to Florida. Kendall's jaw is hanging so loose I'm afraid it might fall off. And he's there with you now? Yep. I glance around again, but the lanai is still empty, so I fill her in on the rest of it. How Marcus pretty much forced me to pretend that he's my boyfriend, the single guest room, our beach outing yesterday, his outrageous claim about the timing of my moving in, and so on. The only thing I keep quiet about is the promise he made to me last night, and the fragile flame of hope it slid in my needy heart. Even so, by the time I finish, Kendall's hazel eyes are wide enough for a truck to drive through. Holy fuck, Emma, she breathes. Holy fucking fuck. I was just joking about the wedding stuff before, but it's happening, isn't it? You're moving in with him, and before we know it, you're going to be Mrs. Wallstreet Billionaire. What? No, are you crazy? I'm not moving in with him, and I'm definitely not— Yeah, right. Her perfectly shaped nose grows as she leans into the camera. Let's face the facts here, shall we? Fact 1. You told him to take a hike, but when he followed you to Florida, you folded. Immediately. Only because I didn't want to disappoint my grandparents, I protest, but Kendall is not listening. Fact 2. You let him stay with you on the condition that he leave after Thanksgiving dinner, but he's still there, isn't he? Well, yes, but fact 3. The man built a fucking empire from scratch, so he clearly knows how to get what he wants. And he wants you. Very much. Oh, please. No, listen to me, Ems. What do you get when you take a determined billionaire and a girl who's putty in his hands? At my purposefully blank stare, she clicks her tongue in pretend disappointment. You may not be a finance whiz, but even you should be able to do that math. A couple living together and getting married, that's what. It's my turn to roll my eyes. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not moving in with Marcus, and I'm certainly not marrying him. Not that he would ask. I told you about Emmeline and the matchmaker and all of his requirements, right? So what? He's there with you, not her, right? On Thanksgiving, at your grandparents' house. If that's not a declaration of intent, I don't know what is. An intent to fuck me, maybe, I mutter, only to flush when Kendall lifts her eyebrows intrigued. Do tell. Is he— Not going there, I say firmly, and I'm not moving in with him. It's way too soon. Besides, there are all sorts of problems with that idea. Kendall frowns. Like what? I sigh. Like the fact that I would never in a million years be able to cover anything close to my fair share of living expenses at his place. Even if he owns his penthouse outright, the property taxes alone must be astronomical. And there's also his chef and his plant people and— I stop because Kendall is looking at me like I have been carried off by aliens and returned with green scales and tentacles. Ems, she begins, only to fall silent, her eyes widening as she stares at something behind me. Pulse jumping, I turn and see Marcus. A barefoot, shirtless Marcus, who's approaching me with the smooth stride of a panther. He must not have taken a shower or shaved yet, as his thick brown hair is rumpled and his jaw dark with morning stubble. His jeans are riding low on his narrow hips, exposing that mouth-watering V guys with washboard abs tend to have, and his hair-dusted, powerfully muscled chest looks like it belongs on the cover of a men's fitness magazine. The Wall Street King turned hot pirate edition.
"Morning, kitten," he says in a deep, sleep-roughened voice, his blue eyes hooded as they rake over me with heated possessiveness. My throat goes dry even as my mouth floods with saliva. If Marcus in a suit is sexy as fuck, this version of him, all potent primal masculinity, is the stuff of women's fantasies. The dark, politically incorrect ones we're not supposed to admit to having. Swallowing thickly, I stutter out, "Morning," only to remember we're not alone. Tearing my eyes away from all that dangerously hot muscle, I turn back to the phone screen, where Kendall looks like she's about to choke on her own drool. "That's Marcus," I say unnecessarily, and she blinks, looking so dazzled that I want to reach through the camera and shake her, maybe after pulling out some of her sleek, shiny hair. Best friend or not, she better keep her hands, and drooling eyes, off my man. "Hi, Marcus," she says breathlessly, pulling herself together with effort. "I'm Kendall, Emma's friend. You, spoke to me on the phone the other day?" He smiles, showing off white teeth and those sexy grooves in his cheeks. Totally unconcerned with the fact that he's flashing his perfectly sculpted pecs at the camera, he sits down next to me, draping one muscular arm over the back of my chair. "Yes, of course I remember. How are you, Kendall?" "I'm great, thank you," she chirps, putting on her upbeat, flirty mask, the one that fools all the guys into thinking she's the brunette equivalent of a ditzy blonde, instead of the smart, pragmatic shark she is. "How about you? Are you two having a great time in Florida?" "I certainly am." Marcus looks over at me, his heavy-lidded gaze speaking volumes, and I curse my blush-prone skin as my cheeks heat in response. Kendall looks like she's ready to swoon. "Oh, how romantic. Emma told me how you met, with the whole name mix-up, and here you are today. What are the odds, right?" "Indeed," Marcus says huskily, not taking his eyes off me. "A total black swan event." My cheeks burn hotter. I must be so red by now. Trying to pretend Marcus isn't devouring me with his gaze, I paste on a bright smile and say in a voice that's only a pitch too high, "So how are things over in the Big Apple? Did the snow from the storm melt?" It's a total cliche, but the weather feels like the safest topic. Kendall grimaces. "Partially. It's mostly dirty slush right now. So jealous of you guys. That sunshine looks amazing." "Yep, it'll be 80 degrees today," I boast, not even trying to downplay the awesomeness of wearing shorts in late November. "We'll probably go to the beach after breakfast again, right?" I glance at Marcus, and flush again as I see that he's still looking at me like a kid at an ice cream cone, the salted caramel kind you savor with every lick. Does the man have no shame? Kendall is bound to think we fuck like rabbits on Viagra, which, come to think of it, isn't far from the truth. "I was actually thinking we might visit St. Augustine," Marcus says, blinking slowly. "But if you prefer the beach—" No, St. Augustine is great. Oldest city in the United States and all that. It's very pretty, really. All historical and stuff. There's a fort and an alligator farm and museums." I stop, realizing I'm babbling and totally ignoring Kendall. Turning back to the camera, I give my friend an apologetic smile. "Sorry about that. We'll figure out our day later. Tell me how your Thanksgiving went. Did you end up visiting your parents?" Kendall grins and launches into the always entertaining tale of her family's dinner-time shenanigans. Marcus listens attentively, laughing in all the appropriate places, but as soon as she's done, he excuses himself to go shower and shave. "I didn't mean to intrude on your chat. Just came out here to make sure Emma didn't disappear on me," he explains to my friend with a rueful grin. "It was nice chatting with you. I hope to see you in person soon." With a wave at the camera, he presses a blush-inducing kiss to my lips and heads back inside. Kendall waits exactly 5 seconds after the sliding door closes behind his muscled back before hissing, "Oh my God! Emma, oh my fucking God!" I blink at her. "What?" "That man is legit crazy about you, that's what." "What? No, it's just nah. Don't even start. I have eyes, you know." "I know, but..." I look around to make sure my grandparents didn't come back and Marcus isn't within hearing distance.
No one is around, but I still lean closer to the camera as I say in a low voice, "It's just sexual, okay? The attraction is there for sure, but that doesn't change anything. I'm not what he needs, and he's not my type either."
Bullshit.
I pull back, irrationally offended.
No, it's not. The man is a billionaire,
Kendall, and I can barely pay my rent. And even if that weren't the case, he's like the ultimate type A. Ambitious, athletic, career-driven, everything I'm not. I mean, you should have heard him talking to my grandfather about stocks. He personally knows all the Fortune 500 CEOs.
So what? Kendall says. You'll get to know them too if you keep dating him. They're just people, you know? Rich and powerful, sure, but still people. As to being ambitious and career-obsessed, when was the last time you played hooky from work or didn't meet an editing deadline?
Well, never, obviously, I say with a frown.
But that doesn't mean no. Then how about the fact that you're basically running 2 careers in parallel? Your editing and your full-time bookstore job.
Where I'm a cashier, I say pointedly, but Kendall is undeterred.
On paper, maybe. From what you've told me, your boss relies on you to pretty much run the place. Haven't you been deciding which books to order lately? Accepting the deliveries? Opening and closing the store when Mr. Smithson is on vacation?
I sigh. Kendall, please. Marcus runs a $100 billion hedge fund. There's no comparison here, okay? She blows out a breath.
Okay, fine. So he's more ambitious than you. That doesn't mean you can't be together. Who says he needs another type A person? Maybe his own type A-ness is plenty for him. In fact, maybe he's...
Emma,
sweetheart?
Grandma's voice carries faintly toward me, and I glance over my shoulder to see her approaching the sliding doors from the kitchen. She and Gramps must be back from their salsa class, which means it's time for breakfast.
Sorry, I have to run,
I tell Kendall, and she nods, gathering her sleek hair into a stylish ponytail.
Fine, but don't disappear on me again, okay? Unless Marcus steals you to a private island. I want a daily report on what's going on with you and Mr. Type A. Got it?
Got it, I promise with a grin, and hanging up, I turn to face my grandmother.
Chapter 14. Marcus. We eat breakfast with Emma's grandparents, then head out to explore the historical parts of St. Augustine. As Emma promised, the place is very pretty, with Spanish colonial architecture and an old fort serving as a scenic backdrop to hundreds of cute souvenir shops and restaurants. We wander around the cobblestone streets for a while, then buy a couple of slices of pizza and eat them while standing next to a shack that claims to be the oldest jail in the United States. Naturally, Emma insists on paying for her slice, and I let her, though it goes against every instinct I possess. If I had my way, she'd never pay for anything again. I'd take care of her, provide her with everything she needs. But she's still hung up on not being a people user like her mother, so I hold back and let her carefully count out the change for her portion. Afterward, we walk on the boardwalk and take some pictures next to the fort and the Bridge of Lions. The weather is perfect, high 70s and sunny with a light breeze, and I suggest we rent a boat from a nearby marina, the way I see some tourists doing. Oh, you can rent it for yourself if you want. I'm afraid of getting seasick, Emma says, averting her gaze. I'll wait for you here. I don't mind. Seasick? On the intracoastal? I'm about to point out how calm the water is when it dawns on me that something other than fear of an unsettled stomach may be at work here. How about we rent a jet ski instead? I ask, testing out my theory. You won't get seasick on that. Emma looks even more uncomfortable. No thanks, I'm good here, but you should go ahead. I hear it's a lot of fun, and I can wait for you. It's not a problem, really. Okay, then. She's either afraid of the water, unlikely given our swimming adventures yesterday, or it's the money thing again. She probably thinks that if we're participating in an activity together, we have to split the cost of that, same as with the pizza. And both the boat and the jet ski rental are on the pricey side. It's ridiculous, but I'm about to let it slide, just as I did with the pizza. It's not like I've never been on a boat or ridden a jet ski before, except it occurs to me that this is going to be an ongoing issue. I've been dirt poor, and now that I'm not, I like to enjoy all the things and experiences my money can buy, like flying private, staying in luxury hotels, and renting boats on a whim. And I want Emma at my side while I'm doing that. Are you sure you don't mind waiting here? I ask, because it's a really nice day and I'd love to be on the water for a bit. Emma blinks. I guess she didn't expect me to be enough of an asshole to take her up on her offer. She recovers swiftly, though, and nods. Yes, of course, go right ahead. I'll hang out here and enjoy the view. And to illustrate how she intends to do that, she plops down on a bench facing the water. Okay, then. Leaving her there, I stride over to the marina and rent the nicest boat they have. There's no way in hell I'm getting on it without Emma, but I need her to believe that I am, that this boat is for me only. It's a gamble, but I don't see any other way. I have to disabuse Emma of this misguided notion that we need to split everything 50-50, and I'm starting on that project today. She's still sitting on the bench when I come out of the marina, boat key dangling in my hand. Are you sure you don't want to come? I ask, approaching her. I keep my tone casual, as if I don't care either way. I don't think you'll get seasick, and it won't be nearly as fun without you. She hesitates, her gaze jumping from me to the blue water sparkling in the sun. Well, come on. Just try it for me, please. If you feel the slightest bit nauseated, I'll bring you back here right away. She nibbles on her lower lip, the very picture of uncertainty, and I go in for the kill. Please, I really need the company. You'd be doing me a huge favor. And as I hoped, she caves. Heaving a sigh, she gets up, and we walk together to the boat.
Chapter 15. Emma. I feel bad that I'm getting a free ride, but not bad enough to let it spoil my enjoyment of the experience. Everything about it, from the way the sun glimmers on the surface of the water to the salty breeze on my face and the dangerously handsome man standing at the helm of our motorboat, is my idea of paradise. I lied before. I don't get seasick, and I'm secretly overjoyed that Marcus roped me into this by renting the boat for himself. Adjusting my hat, I sneak a glance at him, clad in a white polo shirt and khaki shorts, with sleek designer shades covering his intense blue eyes. He's the very picture of cool, casual elegance, and so gorgeous it makes my insides flutter. His olive-toned skin is glowing in the sun, his thick brown hair waving in the breeze as he skillfully steers the boat around a buoy. Catching my gaze, he smiles widely, and my chest expands with a burst of happiness at the warmth radiating from his hard features. "Do you want to drive?" he asks. "I'll show you how if you've never done it before." Smiling, I shake my head. "No, thank you. I'm good here. I'm enjoying the view too much to move. And besides, I don't want to risk damaging the boat in any way. It's bad enough I didn't pitch in for the rental. If I also crashed the thing, I'd feel terrible. Would he accept my money if I offered to pay for a portion of the boat rental now? Technically, it's his boat rental. After all, he was going to do this on his own, whether I joined or not. But I am benefiting from it. In all fairness, I should pitch in, if not pay the full half. Then again, I have to move shortly, which means I need every penny of my meager savings. Otherwise, I'll have to load up my credit cards, and then I'll be in real trouble. From my mother's experience, I know how quickly credit card debt can snowball, with interest charges and late fees easily doubling and tripling your balance. She, of course, dealt with it the same way she dealt with everything, by hoodwinking some hapless boyfriend into paying off most of her debt. Unfortunately for her, and me since I was living with her at the time, the boyfriend saw her for the remorseless gold digger she was and kicked her to the curb without paying down the remnant of the debt. And that remnant hung over our heads for months, with collection agencies hounding us daily, until my mother found another victim to unload her financial burden onto, another unfortunate boyfriend. "You okay?" Marcus asks, and I realize I zoned out, staring blankly at the water. "Yes, of course." I smile at him, possibly too brightly. "All good, just enjoying the sun." "You sure?" His gaze is enigmatic behind his shades.
No seasickness?
No, I say, and refocus on the pleasure of this perfect day. But the sheer joy I felt earlier is gone, tainted by the old memories, and the knowledge that if I'm not careful, I could follow in my mother's footsteps. I could end up using Marcus the way she used her men. We return to my grandparents' house late in the afternoon, and Marcus excuses himself to catch up on some work before dinner, which works perfectly for me, as I have to finish editing the Shifter novella and call Mrs. Metz to check on my cats. To my relief, all is status quo with my fur babies. Queen Elizabeth and Cotton Ball are behaving themselves, while Mr. Puffs has shifted his destructive focus from my pillow to my blanket. However, speaking with my landlady reminds me that I have to get serious about finding a new place to live. So instead of working on the novella, I'm scrolling through Craigslist when my grandmother comes out to join me on the lanai. "What's this?" she asks, coming up behind me, and I jump, startled, before slamming my laptop shut. "Nothing, Grandma." My voice is an octave too high as I face her, so I try again, this time with a big smile. "Just looking for a new bedside lamp. Mine broke a while back." Which is true. Mr. Puffs knocked it over months ago, and I've been meaning to look for a replacement for ages. That's not what I was doing at that particular moment, but as far as lies go, it's only a partial one. "A lamp?" Grandma looks confused, but then she shakes her head. "Never mind then. My vision must be going, because I thought I saw you looking at apartment listings." "Oh, no, that's not it. Marcus and I are moving in together, remember?" Grandma's face brightens, and I mentally kick myself. Why did I just say that? It's bad enough Marcus is saying all that stuff in an effort to manipulate me, but now I'm joining in, playing along like a puppet. His obedient, sex-crazed puppet. "Of course I remember, sweetheart." Grandma pulls up a chair to sit next to me. "So tell me, are you excited? This is such a big step for you both." Why did I go there? Seriously, why? All I had to do was say that I was looking for a lamp and stop there. But no, I just had to blab, and here we are. Dropping my gaze to my hands, I mumble, "Yeah, sure." My cuticles aren't in the best shape, I notice, and there's a hangnail on my thumb. How ugly. I bet Emily never gets that. Her perfect nails wouldn't dare to hang in any way. "What does that mean?" Grandma asks, and I look up from my ragged cuticles to see her regarding me with gentle curiosity and more than a hint of concern. "Are you uncertain about this?" she continues. "Uncomfortable in any way?" "It's just happening very fast." There, that's not a lie. Everything is happening way too fast. Even if Marcus were the type of guy I normally date, a little geeky and sweet, I'd be freaked out at the idea of moving in with him at any point in the near future. But Marcus is about as far from the guys I've dated as a Category 5 hurricane from a gentle breeze, and I'm absolutely petrified at the possibility that he might railroad me into this. Which he won't. I won't let him, no matter what Kendall or anyone else thinks. "Yes, that young man of yours knows exactly what he wants and goes after it, doesn't he?" Grandma says, smiling sympathetically, and I nod, relieved to be able to share at least part of my turmoil with her. "He does, and it's overwhelming at times. Like pretty much all times. Marcus is a lot to handle, especially when a part of me is still wondering if it's all a game to him, if he'll get bored with me and move on to someone who fits his requirements better." Grandma's expression turns serious. "You know you don't have to do anything you don't want to, right, sweetheart? I'm sorry if your grandfather and I came off as pushing you earlier. Obviously, we want you settled and happy with a good man, and Marcus seems like a very good man. But if you're not ready, you're not ready. Living together is a serious step, and you should take as long as you need to make your decision. His apartment won't run away." "I know, but it's not just that." I take a breath. "You've read the article. You know how wealthy he is. Everything in his life is expensive. Just the sunglasses he was wearing today probably cost more than my monthly rent. And he has a private jet, and a butler who cooks, and a housekeeping service, and a company that takes care of his plants. How do I keep up with that? My voice cracks. How do I date him without turning into her? Grandma tilts her head. Ah, so that's what this is about. She sighs. I suppose I should have known. Sweetheart. She covers my hand with her warm palm. You couldn't be like Brienne if you tried. Your mother, she had something broken inside her, something missing. It wasn't anything we did. She was just born that way. It took me a long time to come to terms with it, and there are nights when I still wake up in a cold sweat thinking about it, wondering if it was my fault after all. But she was like that always. Even as a baby, she'd steal other children's toys with zero remorse. Old pain glimmers in my grandmother's eyes. We didn't know what to do. No matter how hard we tried to instill empathy in her, she only cared about what she wanted, only did what made her feel good. My chest squeezes painfully. I'm sorry, Grandma. That must have been so awful for you and Gramps. I can only imagine the torment my kind, generous grandparents had gone through, watching their one and only daughter carelessly hurting people all her life. A bittersweet smile curves Grandma's lips. Awful for us? Oh, Emma, sweetheart, you're the one who was raised by her, and you're sorry for us? Darling, if you needed any more proof that you're nothing like your mother, here it is in spades. You have more empathy in a single nose hair than Brienne had in her entire soul. I stifle a startled giggle. A nose hair? A nose hair, Grandma says firmly. And if you take your entire nose, well, there's really no contest. As to the financial disparity between you and Marcus, let me ask you this. Do you care about him? I blink, all desire to laugh disappearing. Yes, I do. I am, in fact, in love with him, but I'm not ready for my grandmother to know that. She smiles, squeezing my hand. I thought so. The two of you remind me of your grandfather and me in our youth. The way you look at him and the way he looks at you. For a second, she seems lost in fond memories, but then she refocuses on me, her gray gaze sharpening as the smile fades from her lips. Sweetheart, listen to me, she says quietly. You're nothing like Brienne. Never have been and never will be. The issue with your mother was not that she took money from the men she dated. It was that she didn't care about them as people. To her, they were nothing but wallets with legs. As long as you don't see Marcus that way, as long as what you two have is genuine, there's no shame in letting him spoil and indulge you, take care of you in whichever way he wants. Money is an obstacle, only if you let it be one. So don't let it. Don't let Brienne poison your life from her grave. Chapter 16. Emma. I think about Grandma's words throughout the rest of our time in Florida. It's strange, but I never considered that by fighting so hard not to be like my mother, I'm keeping her toxic influence in my life. Then again, Grandma's been on my case about this issue in one way or another for years. First, she and Gramps wanted to take out loans to help me through college, an idea I vehemently vetoed by taking out the loans myself. More recently, they've been wanting to take out a second mortgage so they could help me with said loans. It's both touching and maddening, because the last thing I want is to ruin their retirement with stress about finances. That's what one's 20s are for. Thankfully, I don't have time to dwell on this much, as Marcus and I spend nearly every minute of our vacation together, both with my grandparents and on our own. On Friday night, we go to the movies after dinner. The following morning, we return to the beach and stay there until lunch, alternately swimming, strolling along the water, and working on our laptops. During that time, I finish my novella edits and start toying with the opening lines of my super-secret project, while Marcus zooms through Excel spreadsheets with what looks like 100 tabs. financial models from his analysts, he explains. It's nice to be working side by side with him, being productive while still enjoying each other's company. In a way, Kendall was right. As different as we are ambition-wise, we share a respect for deadlines and obligations, viewing work as an important part of our lives, rather than something unpleasant to avoid. After the beach, Marcus invites my grandparents out for lunch at a local Italian place, to thank them for their hospitality, he explains. And as much as it pains me to let him pay for all of us, I keep my wallet in my bag to avoid another lecture from Grandma. I console myself with the promise that I will pay him back, and I further ease my conscience by ordering the cheapest item on the menu. When the meal is done, all four of us go for a walk in one of the local parks, and I again marvel at how well Marcus is getting along with my family. As we stroll along the intracoastal, he chats with my grandparents as if he's known them forever, all the while holding my hand in an unmistakably possessive grip. Mine, his gesture proclaims to all who look at me. This woman is mine. And in case they don't get the message, he directs a glare at any male jogger or bicyclist who smiles at me, which many do, since people in this area are quite friendly. He was doing the same thing when we were on the beach, but it was more understandable there, as I was wearing only a bikini. Here, though, I'm dressed in a very basic outfit of a t-shirt and jean shorts, and his unconcealed jealousy is both flattering and ridiculous. He's acting as if I'm so beautiful he has to beat off other men with a stick, when in reality, he's the one drawing all the female eyes. With his tall, hard-muscled body, boldly masculine features, and the air of power that clings to him like an expensive cologne, he's the kind of man women of all ages dream about, and secretly masturbate to. My grandmother notices it too, both his possessiveness and the way other women eye him like candy. I have to say, your boyfriend is completely obsessed with you, she says, as I help her set the table for dinner that evening. Even while talking to us, he kept watching you like he was afraid someone might steal you, and all his focus was on you. Zero attention to that blonde hussy who was all but stripping on the park bench in front of us. The jogger who said hello to you, though? She lets out a low whistle. The poor guy's lucky Marcus didn't punch him. Grandma, please. I feel a blush creeping up my face again. You're exaggerating. I'm reasonably certain Marcus wouldn't punch a guy just for saying hello to me. He's not that territorial. Is he? No, I'm telling you, sweetheart. What is it you young people say? He has the hots for you? No, that's not quite right, though he clearly has that too. Setting down the salt shaker, she winks at me, and I almost die of mortification because there's only one thing she could be referring to. The sounds coming from our bedroom at night. I do my best to stay quiet, but Marcus makes it impossible. By the fourth or fifth orgasm, I lose all sense of time and place, and my grandparents must have noticed. Grandma bursts out laughing. Oh, you should see the look on your face right now. Do you think your grandfather and I haven't had fun times of our own? I'm happy for you, sweetheart, for both of you, but especially you, as it's always harder for a woman. Oh my God, kill me now. Like, literally right now. I do not want to picture my grandparents having fun times, and I definitely don't want to discuss my sex life with Marcus with my grandmother. It was one thing for her to have the birds, bees, and contraceptives talk with me when my period started at age 12. But this, my orgasmic capacity is not a topic for pre-dinner conversation, even if said capacity has grown tremendously since I met Marcus. All right, I will zip it, Grandma says when I hide my tomato-red face by diligently scrubbing at a barely-there spot on the tablecloth with a wet paper towel. You can... Zip what? Gramps asks, walking in with Marcus at his side. Marcus had been showing him some kind of trading software for the past 20 minutes, and the two of them look thick as thieves. Nothing, Grandma says with a surreptitious grin at me. Facing the men, she says briskly, let's just sit and eat.
Chapter 17. Marcus. I never thought I'd say it, but I'm in love with Emma's grandparents. Maybe it's because I never had grandparents of my own, or normal parents for that matter, but this long weekend with Emma and her family counts among the best days of my life. Maybe even the best, because I can't recall the last time I've had such a prolonged sense of well-being. Mostly, of course, it's due to Emma herself. Each night since my arrival here, I've gorged myself on her sweet, lush body, feasting on her without restraint. I've had her in our bed, inside the shower, up against a wall, and even on the floor, when we didn't make it all the way to the bed one evening. But as wonderful as that has been, I've derived nearly as much enjoyment from the simple pleasure of falling asleep with Emma in my arms, and waking up still holding her, breathing in her warm, delicious scent. The bone-deep contentment I experienced that first night with Emma wasn't a fluke. It's there each time I hold her. And Emma's family has added another layer to that feeling, a sense of belonging I didn't realize I'd been missing. Even as a child, I knew better than to rely on anyone but myself, and though I never had trouble making friends, most of those friendships had been light and casual, barely skin-deep. Same for my relationships with adults. Even Mr. Bond, the second-grade teacher who'd become my mentor, hadn't really seen past the confident demeanor and the cloak of ambition I'd worn as shields. But somehow, Emma's grandparents have. Mary doesn't bring up my past again, but each time her gaze falls on me, it's soft and warm, holding a wealth of gentle understanding. She fusses over me just like she does over her husband and granddaughter, constantly feeding me, worrying whether I'm warm enough or cool enough, if the coffee I downed at dinner will keep me up at night. And Ted, in his own gruff way, is just as kind, making me wonder what it would have been like to have an older man in my life who wasn't just a mentor but a friend, someone to talk to about things both minor and important. Someone like a father, or a grandfather. I wish you two didn't have to leave already, Ted tells me over breakfast Sunday morning, and I smile regretfully, wishing the same thing. This holiday weekend has been an interlude out of time, a sun-soaked break from the reality of my non-stop high-stress life. The parks, the beach, the warm, humid air, I feel rejuvenated by it all, refreshed in a way I haven't experienced in years. And it's not because I didn't work this weekend. I did. Despite all the outings and family time, I got nearly as much done over the past couple of days as I normally do on the weekends. The difference is, it was mostly with Emma at my side. And she was there when I went to bed and woke up, her dimpled smile greeting me, her soft arms embracing me whenever I reached for her. With her grandparents as a buffer, the residual tension between us melted away, her resistance to me fading until it was as if my stupid mistake of staying away from her had never happened in the first place. She didn't even object when I paid for everyone's lunch at the Italian restaurant, though I did find a 20 lying prominently on my wallet later that evening. Once we're back in New York, it will be different. I can tell. The next big battle, getting Emma to move in, is already brewing. When I came out of the bathroom this morning, I caught a glimpse of apartment listings on her laptop screen before she closed the computer, which means my ploy with her landlady is both working and not. My kitten is planning to move, but on her own. Despite our growing closeness over the past 4 days, she's still afraid to trust me, to let me fully into her life. "Marcus, what time are you flying out?" Mary asks, refilling my cup with more of her signature Colombian brew, a coffee so good my butler has already ordered it for me. "I assume it's again out of Daytona." "That's right." I smile at her. "I told my pilot to have the plane ready by 3 p.m. so Emma and I would be able to stay for lunch." "Wait, what?" Emma looks up from her omelet. "You mean you'd be able to stay for lunch? My flight is at 12:45, so Gramps and I have to leave for Orlando in an hour." I stare at her. "Orlando? Kitten, I have an entire plane just for the two of us. Why would you make your grandfather drive you all the way to Orlando when Daytona is a half hour away and we can fly home together?" "That's what I told Emma yesterday," Ted says, looking at the two of us. "But she said that's what had been decided. Emma's jaw tightens, and I realize I was wrong. The next big battle isn't moving her in, it's this. For some reason, I assumed she'd fly home with me, that this would be like the boat where she'd see the utility of joining me since I'll be using the jet regardless. I can take an Uber to Orlando, she says stiffly. If driving me there is a problem. Ted sighs. Don't be silly. I'm happy to drive you, of course. It's just that I have a perfectly good plane nearby and a car parked outside that we can take there, thus freeing your grandfather from any and all unnecessary driving, I say, my resolve hardening. This isn't like the 20 she put on my wallet, and which I quietly stuffed into her bag when she wasn't looking. It's bigger, more important, worthy of a fight. Tomorrow, we're going back to our regular lives, back to work in separate, for now, apartments. This is our chance to spend a few more hours together, and I'm not going to let it slip away because of her stubbornness. Emma's gray eyes turn stormy. I have a flight all booked and paid for. I even checked in online last night. So what? I'll get it refunded for you. She smiles triumphantly. You can't. It's too late, and besides, it's a non-refundable ticket. My poor kitten. She has no idea what I can or cannot do. My answering smile would make a shark proud. What if I could? What if I got you a refund right now? Would you fly home with me then? Mary and Ted turn expectant gazes on her, and she frowns, realizing I've maneuvered her into a corner. The non-refundable ticket made for a good excuse. Without it, all that's left is her irrational stubbornness, laid bare in front of her grandparents. Look, Marcus, she starts, but I raise my palm. Let me try to get you that refund, okay? Maybe it won't work after all. It will, of course, but I want her to think there's still a chance she can win. Yes, let 'em try, sweetheart, Mary urges softly. Won't it be nice to fly together rather than apart? Emma hesitates for 2 long seconds, but then she reluctantly nods. Fine. You can try, but I'm telling you, the best they'll be able to do is change my flight to another day after first charging an enormous fee. We'll see. Give me a few minutes. Setting down my coffee cup, I get up and walk out onto the lanai, where I place a call directly to the United Airlines CEO. I have his cell number from our conversation on Wednesday, when I had him delay Emma's flight by an hour. 10 minutes later, I return to the table to find Emma staring at her phone in disbelief. How did you do this? She demands, turning the screen toward me to show an email with a refund confirmation. And so fast? The last time I had to call this airline for something, I was on hold for 2+ hours, and they didn't even charge a fee. I shrug innocently. Maybe their customer service has improved. Yeah, right, she mutters, eyeing me balefully. I guess money pulls all kinds of strings. Oh, she has no idea. But she will. I intend for my money to pull whatever strings it takes to win her.
Chapter 18. Emma. I should be mad, upset that I'd been outmaneuvered so skillfully. But as we board Marcus's private jet, I can't help but be grateful that we'd had those extra few hours with my grandparents, and that I don't have to part from Marcus quite yet. As excited as I am to see my fur babies tonight, I'm dreading having to sleep alone in my cold, lumpy bed. And then, of course, there's the fact that I'm flying on a freaking private jet. As much as I'd like to pretend such over-the-top luxuries hold little interest for me, I can't lie to myself. Private planes are awesome. First of all, we drive up right to the plane. No security lines, nothing. We step out of the car and board right away. I guess the thought process here is that the jet owner is not likely to blow up his own plane. Then, as soon as we get on the plane, we take off, with only a 5-minute delay to get air control clearance. There's no waiting for the other passengers to settle in, no stuffing of bags into a tiny overhead compartment. We just get in and fly, like one would get into a car and drive. Finally, there's the plane itself. I've seen private jets in movies, but the obscene luxury of this mode of transportation didn't fully register in my mind until I saw it in real life. Marcus's plane is huge. Smaller than a commercial airliner, obviously, but big enough to fit a dozen plush leather seats, a couch with a long coffee table in front of it, and a bedroom in the back. Yes, a freaking bedroom on a plane. Everything is decorated in shades of tan and cream, with natural wood accents, and looks so invitingly comfy that I plop onto the couch as soon as the initial ascent is over, just to test it out.
Like it?
Marcus looks up from his seat where he's working on his laptop, and I kick off my flip-flops to stretch out on the soft leather surface. Soon I'll need to change into my winter clothes, but for now, I'm still in Florida mode. It's not bad, I concede, turning on to my side to face him. I mean, it's not as nice as a middle seat in economy, but it's got its charms. Marcus grins.
I'm glad to hear that. I was starting to feel bad for depriving you of that wonderful middle seat experience.
I sigh and turn over onto my back to stare at the ceiling, some of my euphoria fading. You should feel bad. I can't pay you for this, you know. All of my savings combined won't be enough to cover this private flight.
Pay me for what? Having you here isn't costing me a single extra penny. I would have flown home this way regardless. If anything, you're doing me a favor by keeping me company.
It's the same rationale he used to get me on the boat, and though I see it now for the manipulative ploy it was, I can't help wanting to believe it, to buy into the eminent reasonableness of his words. Kendall was right when she accused me of being putty in his hands. I am, because deep inside, I want the same things he does. I'm losing these battles because when I'm fighting him, I'm fighting myself as well.
Emma, kitten.
I hear him get up, and a moment later, the couch next to me dips as he sits down, placing a hand on the back of the couch to cage me underneath his powerful arm. Despite the dominating posture, his expression is warm and tender as he gazes down at me.
Listen to me, he says softly. I'm rich, okay? Filthy rich. The kind of rich they scream about on the news. I got there through sleepless nights and 100-hour work weeks, through taking massive risks and living with the consequences, good or bad. Yes, there was luck involved, there always is, but mostly it was nonstop work. And now I want to enjoy the wealth I've earned, reap the rewards of my hard labor. But I can't if the woman I'm with refuses to partake with me.
Gently, he brushes a stray curl off my face.
I know it's hard for you, kitten. I understand where you're coming from, believe me. But please, can you try, for me? Let me worry about the costs of things when we're together. Let me pay for the luxuries I enjoy.
I bite my lip.
Marcus, Please, Emma. He lays his hand on my arm. Indulge me in this one small thing. I'm not asking you to forget your principles. If you wish to pay for yourself when we go out to a restaurant of your choosing, do so by all means. But also let me take you out to the restaurants you wouldn't choose, the ones where the chef presents you with a single berry for dessert.
An involuntary smile tugs at my lips. A single berry?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous what those high-end chefs will deem the height of culinary art.
Despite his light-hearted words, his expression remains serious, his eyes intent on mine, and I know he won't relent on this. I can feel his iron will beating at me, like a hurricane battering the coast, and I can feel myself bending under the force of it. This is important to him, and as much as I'd like to pretend we can go on as we have, I know better. Whether I like it or not, I'm dating a billionaire, and I can't expect him to live according to my budget. Scooting toward the head of the couch, I sit up, so I don't feel at such a disadvantage lying down. Not that I'm at any less of a disadvantage being vertical with Marcus, but it's the feeling that counts. You're right, I say, squaring my shoulders. It's not fair of me to ask you to eat at Papa Mario's all the time, or to expect you to stay at a Holiday Inn on vacation because that's all I can afford. You've earned your money, and you should be able to enjoy it, whether you happen to be by yourself or with me. But if we're to do this, we need to lay some ground rules. His eyes gleam brighter.
Go ahead.
First, you don't buy me things. No clothes, no shoes, no purses, no jewelry, no electronics, no first edition books, no expensive gifts of any kind. Small gifts are okay, obviously, but nothing that a regular person, say a bookstore cashier, wouldn't be able to afford. His lips tighten, but he nods. Fine, I can live with that. Second, if I invite you out to a place of my choosing, I pay for us both. I raise a hand, forestalling his objections. It won't happen often, as my going-out budget is limited, but if you're planning to pay for me at your Singleberry restaurants, I will pay for you at Papa Mario's and such. He sighs.
Okay, anything else?
I consider it. I think that mostly covers it.
Let me make sure we're on the same page.
He leans in, eyes narrowed.
If I let you pay when we go where you want, I can take you out anywhere I want, correct? And if I don't get you expensive gifts, you will fly on my plane with me and stay with me at whatever hotel I book and do whatever activities I enjoy without any talk of paying for your portion, right?
I nod, though my stomach is knotted tight. As necessary as this compromise is, it feels too much like everything I've fought against, like everything I don't want to be. 4 days ago, I couldn't have imagined myself taking this step, but now I can't imagine walking away from Marcus, which is the only real alternative. An unthinkable alternative, because if I was in love with him before, spending this long weekend together and seeing him with my family has left me hopelessly addicted. I can't bear the thought of going home by myself tonight, much less breaking up with him.
Good.
The intensity in his gaze doesn't abate.
We're in agreement then. We're doing this, subject to your ground rules.
Right, I say warily. Why do I feel like he's going somewhere with this, and I'm not going to like wherever that is?
In that case, I'll get the movers over to your studio tonight.
A wicked smile curves his lips.
Think of my place as a hotel I've booked on a long-term basis.
Chapter 19. Marcus. This does not mean I'm moving in with you, Emma emphasizes for the 5th time as we approach her doorstep. I'm just going to sleep over at your place tonight. Right, with your cats. I keep my voice even and soothing. No need to spook her by gloating over this win. Just as a trial run. Not a trial run. 1 night only, and only because you have that early morning meeting and can't stay over at my place tonight. Of course, whatever you say. I give her the most innocent smile I can muster. Just don't forget their litter boxes, food, and anything else they need. She casts a glare at me. Obviously. Be prepared, though. They're going to wreak havoc on your place. Mr. Puffs, especially. I don't mind. That's a lie. I'm not looking forward to having animals running around my meticulously clean apartment, but Emma will latch on to any sign of hesitation on my part, and I'm not about to let her use her pets to stall this. If I want her at my place, I have to put up with the furry beasts. I come with money, she comes with cats. That's the deal. We both have to compromise. Okay, fine, but it's your funeral, she mutters, unlocking her door. Or rather, your fancy things funeral. I don't have a chance to respond, because the moment the door swings open, Emma is mobbed by her cats. Meowing loudly, 3 fluffy white Persians attack her like she's their favorite meal. One climbs up her jeans, ninja style, while the other 2 do infinity loops between her legs in a synchronized attempt to trip her. If it were me, I'd be running for the hills, but Emma looks incandescently happy. Grinning hugely, she uses one arm to hug the cat that's using her body as a tree pole, it's the medium-sized one, Cotton Ball, and simultaneously bends to pet the other 2. The small, dainty one, Queen Elizabeth, immediately starts purring, while the giant one, the incongruously named Mr. Puffs, hisses at her, green eyes slitted, and swats her hand with a furry paw. Oh, don't be mad, Puffs, she coos, bravely reaching for him again. I'm sorry I left you for so long, I really am, but everything's okay now. Mama's back. The evil creature hisses at her again, but keeps his claws sheathed this time, magnanimously letting her scratch the top of his head and underneath his chin. Finally, all 3 cats are pacified and back on the floor, and Emma is able to advance deeper into her tiny apartment despite the tripping hazard her pets represent. I walk in after her, wheeling her suitcase, and survey the rundown place. It's just as I recalled. Pretty much everything in here is junk, with the possible exception of the floor-to-ceiling cat maze that decorates one wall. I'll have to make space for it, or something like it, in my penthouse, once Emma gives the green light for the movers to do their thing. Hopefully, the cats will be okay without the maze for however long this trial run lasts. And it is a trial run, no matter what she says. The cats wouldn't be coming with her otherwise. It was surprisingly easy to convince her to stay with me tonight, once I suggested the furry beasts accompany her, that is. Before that, it was battle royale, with her completely refusing to see reason. To me, it's beyond simple. If she's okay with staying in a hotel I've booked, then she should be fine staying at my place. Permanently. Starting with tonight. But Emma doesn't see it that way. To her, moving in together is a big deal, and she refuses to take that step so soon. It's frustrating, but I'll take what victories I can get, starting with convincing her to spend the night in my home. The cats were initially an obstacle to that. She didn't want to leave them alone after being away for so long, but a smart man knows how to take hurdles and then use them to leapfrog toward his goal. Hence, my idea of telling her to bring the cats with her. To have Emma, I'd put up with a horde of demons camping out at my place, which, for all I know, the cats might be. Of course, early morning meeting or not, I could have stayed with Emma at her place, but that wouldn't have gotten me any closer to having her move in with me. And frankly, I'm not too keen to spend another night on her narrow, lumpy bed. Call me spoiled, but I much prefer my comfortable king-sized mattress. "All right, guys, let's get you fed before we go," Emma says, entering her tiny kitchen, and I watch as she opens cans of cat food and puts each one on a separate plate. I take note of which cat gets which brand/flavor, in case I ever have to do this, and then I focus on what I came here for. Getting Emma packed and ready to go home with me tonight. I start by unzipping her suitcase and taking out all the clothes she brought to Florida. She's worn them all, so they go into a laundry hamper. Then I sort through what remains in the suitcase, her toiletries, flip-flops, laptop, and an ancient beat-up Kindle. She'll need all of that at my place, so I repack it neatly and walk over to her closet to see what else to take. "What are you doing?" she asks, coming up next to me as I take out 3 raggedy sweaters, 2 pairs of jeans, and a few of her better-looking tops. I'd give my left thumb to be allowed to buy her nicer clothes, but that's not part of the deal we made. Not yet, at least. "I'm helping you pack," I say, returning to the suitcase. Going down on one knee, I place the clothes on the suitcase top and begin to fold them. You might want to grab some underwear, socks, pajamas, and anything else along those lines. There's dead silence in response, and when I look up, I find Emma watching me with a narrowed stare. "That's more than one night's worth of clothes." Her tone is dangerously even, and I don't need instructions on what to bring. Sensing a new battle, I rise to my feet. I didn't say you needed instructions. As to the quantity of clothes, why not bring more than you need, just in case? "Because," she crosses her arms over her chest, her pretty face set in stubborn lines. I raise my eyebrows, waiting for an elaboration, but none comes my way. What does come my way is her cat, specifically the big one, Mr. Puffs. Green eyes narrowed in perfect imitation of his owner's expression, he stalks toward me, fluffy tail raised high. "Puffs!" Emma grabs for him, but he deftly avoids her, determined to reach his goal, which is not me, but the suitcase. Jumping in, he stretches out on top of the partially folded clothes and looks up at me smugly. "That's right," his flat, furry face tells me. "You might fuck her, but I just marked my territory with white cat hair, and I have lots of it. Way more than you." "Ugh, Puffs, what have you done? Now your hair's all over the place," Emma groans, reaching into the suitcase to get the cat out. "Here, let's get you into your carrier before you cause more trouble." She carries the beast away, and I swiftly fold the rest of the clothes, brushing off the cat hair as much as I can, which is very little. The white strands must have suckers on them, or super glue, because they cling to Emma's clothes as tightly as if they'd been painted on. By the time I'm done, Mr. Puffs is safely ensconced in a stiff square bag with mesh sides that looks barely large enough to accommodate his furry body. Glaring at me through the front mesh, he attempts to swish his tail, but there's no room, and he meows threateningly instead. "It's okay, baby," Emma coos, patting the side of the bag as she carries it toward the door. "We're just going on a little overnight adventure. I'm not taking you to the vet, I promise." "Here, let me." I take the carrier from her, since it looks heavy, but it's lighter than I expected. I guess part of the cat's size is all that fluffy fur. Ignoring his outraged yowling at the transfer, I ask, "Do you want me to take him out to the car?" "Not yet. He'll worry if he's all alone there. Just set him down here." She indicates a spot by the door. "If you'd like to help, maybe you can scoop the litter boxes and then take them to the car." I stare at her warily. Scoop the litter boxes? Does she mean pick them up or, if there are any clumps or anything? At my horrified look, she rolls her eyes and says, "Never mind. You can finish packing my things since you seem to know what I need. I'll get the cats and their stuff ready to go." Blowing out a relieved breath, I set down Mr. Puffs and walk over to the dresser to grab Emma's underwear and socks. As much as I want her at my place, I'm not sure I can handle picking up cat poop or whatever scooping entails. I'm not a neat freak, at least I don't consider myself one, but I definitely like things to be clean and sanitary. Thanks to my mother's love affair with alcohol, I mopped up enough vomit and piss in my early years to last a lifetime. Emma disappears into the bathroom, and I quickly pack whatever I think she might need over the next week. We can fight the one night or longer battle later. Then I call Wilson, my driver, to come in and get the suitcase. He's already at the door when Emma emerges from the bathroom carrying a plastic box filled with rocky sand, which is thankfully free of clumps. "Here, give it to me." I take the litter box from her, the thing is surprisingly heavy, and hand it to Wilson, then grab the suitcase myself and follow my driver out to the car, which is waiting by the curb. We load everything into the trunk, and I return to pick up whatever's left. That turns out to be 2 more litter boxes. Apparently, each cat requires its own, and 2 cat carriers, one with Mr. Puffs and the other, a bigger plastic one, with the 2 smaller cats together. "I haven't taken the 3 of them out together since they were kittens," Emma explains as I take both carriers from her after dealing with the litter boxes. "Usually, I only need to bring 1 or 2 to the vet at the same time. Luckily, Queen Elizabeth and Cotton Ball still fit into that one." She nods toward the plastic carrier. "Normally, I use it to carry Mr. Puffs, since he's so big." "Right." I take the cats to the car while she locks up, and Wilson gets them situated in the back seat. "Thank you," I tell him when he straightens, and his normally expressionless face breaks into a smile. "My pleasure, sir. Beautiful cats, if I may say so. I have a Persian of my own, but he's gray, not white." I blink. I had no idea my reserved, seemingly emotionless driver had pets of any kind. "That's nice. How long have you had him?" "Oh, almost 15 years. He's getting up there in age, my cat. Sleeps most of the day, I don't know, having never been around cats, but I nod as if I can relate. After all, I'm about to become a pet owner myself. "All done," Emma says, approaching the car. In her hands is a clear plastic bag with a few cans of cat food and toys. "We can go." "Good. Let's go then." And with one last look at Wilson, who's beaming at us with uncharacteristic warmth, I usher Emma into the car.
Chapter 20. Emma. I have no idea what I'm doing. None. By all rights, I should be home, settling back into my regular life and recovering from my intense Thanksgiving weekend with Marcus. Instead, I let him convince me to spend the night at his ridiculously fancy penthouse. And now I'm freaking out because I'm about to let my cats out of their carriers. My cats, who haven't been anywhere other than my apartment and the vet's office in years. What on earth was I thinking? This is going to be a disaster. They can't get into the pool, right? I confirm for the second time, eyeing the thick glass wall behind the tall plants shielding the 40-foot-long rectangular pool from the rest of the apartment. Because I don't think they can swim, and
Joffrey made sure the pool enclosure door is locked, Marcus says, his eyes gleaming with amusement as he comes to stand in front of me. I called him when we were on the way, remember?
Right, of course. I take a deep breath. What about pricey breakable things? Because they will knock stuff over and
so be it. I'll replace them with less breakable things.
But he kisses me. Just like that, with no warning, he slides one big hand into my hair, tilts my face up, and dips his head to slant his mouth across mine. His lips are soft and warm, his breath faintly minty from the hard candy we both sucked on during our descent into JFK.
Joffrey's got their litter boxes all set up and ready.
Right, litter boxes. That's not sexy at all. So why am I still thinking about how his lips felt on mine and how hard and thick? Stop it, Emma. Cats, litter boxes. Think of your fur babies and focus. With effort, I wrench my gaze away from the blazing heat in Marcus's eyes and kneel in front of the two carriers. Inside the bigger one, Queen Elizabeth and Cotton Ball are sitting together calmly, regarding me with mildly curious expressions. Mr. Puffs, however, is all worked up inside his smaller bag, alternately meowing and hissing, his pretty fur all ruffled from rubbing against the mesh sides. He doesn't know where he is, and he doesn't like it, which doesn't bode well for Marcus's ritzy place. Please behave, I implore the cat as I unzip the carrier to let him out. Pretty please. He jumps out with a hissing yowl before I get the zipper halfway open. As soon as his paws touch the smooth hardwood floor, he leaps 5 feet into the air and lands with his back arched and his fur standing on end. Then, hissing, he darts underneath Marcus's ultra-modern gray leather couch. I eye the smooth leather mournfully. Once Mr. Puffs gets his bearings, that couch is toast. Sighing, I turn my attention to his siblings. Their plastic carrier opens in the front, and as soon as I unlock the door, Cotton Ball pushes it open with a paw and strolls out, his whiskers twitching with curiosity as he surveys his surroundings. Queen Elizabeth, however, stays in the carrier, feeling insecure in an unfamiliar place.
See? So far so good,
Marcus says, crouching next to me. Cotton Ball stares at him, then decides to mark his territory by rubbing his furry body against Marcus's leg. To my surprise, Marcus cautiously reaches out and scratches Cotton Ball behind his ear.
This is okay, right?
He asks me, and I nod, my insides melting at the odd expression on his hard features as my friendliest cat starts an audible purr at his touch. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this won't be a total disaster. Reaching into the carrier, I get Queen Elizabeth out and cuddle her against my chest, stroking her soft fur to reassure her. Marcus looks at me, then at the purring cat he's petting, and I watch, amazed, as he carefully picks up Cotton Ball and cradles him against his chest, same as I'm doing with Queen Elizabeth. The cat looks ridiculously tiny in Marcus's powerful arms, and ridiculously pleased to be there. Eyes closed in kitty bliss, he starts purring so loudly his entire body vibrates with it. And best of all, Marcus has a big grin on his face, his lean cheeks creased with those sexy grooves as he rises to his feet.
He really likes me, doesn't he?
He says, gazing down at the cat he's holding, and I laugh at the undisguised pride in his voice. He does. Cotton Ball is cuddly by nature, but you two seem to have a special bond. I don't think I've ever seen him so blissed out. And it's true. My cat is really enjoying being petted by those big, strong hands. Then again, who wouldn't? I know any time he touches me, I turn into boneless goo. Like that morning the other weekend, when he massaged me all over before using his tongue to...
Excuse me, Mr. Corelli, Ms. Walsh, dinner is ready.
The British accented voice startles me out of my dirty daydream, and as I stand up to face Marcus's butler, with Queen Elizabeth clutched against my chest, I curse my Irish heritage for giving me such a blush-prone complexion. My cheeks are burning so hot they must be strawberry red.
"Thank you, Joffrey," Marcus says without putting down Cotton Ball. "We'll be right there." If Marcus's butler is startled to see his employer with a fluffy white cat in his arms and a blushing redhead at his side, he doesn't show it, his expression as neutral as ever. Still, I drape Queen Elizabeth over my shoulder to hide some of the telltale color in my neck as I smile at him and say, "Yes, thank you, Joffrey, and thank you so much for setting up my cat's things." The butler's expression warms a fraction. "It's my pleasure, Miss Walsh. Please let me know if you or your pets," he glances at the cats we're holding, "need anything during your stay with us."
"Oh, we'll be fine, thank you. It's just for one night," I say, my smile widening. For all his stiff posture and formal manners, the thin British man seems to be genuinely kind.
"Or longer," Marcus says, coming up to stand at my side. "Joffrey, if you get a chance, please unpack Emma's suitcase while we're eating. I left it by the entrance. Also, please make sure the cats can find their litter boxes, food, and toys." "Yes, Mr. Corelli," Joffrey says, and hurries away before I can protest that I'm not staying longer and don't need my suitcase unpacked. Turning, I glare at Marcus, but he's not looking at me. He's gazing down at purring Cotton Ball, who's made himself comfortable in the crook of his arm, and the quiet fascination on his strong-featured face makes me swallow back the fighting words. I don't know what it is about seeing this indomitable man so undone by a ball of fluff, but my heart feels like it's both glowing and melting. "How about I show them the location of their litter boxes?" I suggest softly, just in case they need it while we eat. Marcus meets my gaze with a smile. "Sure, I'll come with you."
And with Cotton Ball in his arms and Queen Elizabeth in mine, we walk side by side toward the bathroom he allocated to my cats. Chapter 21. Emma.
"You know, you've never mentioned your father,"
Marcus says as we sit down to eat, finally sans cats. Cotton Ball has adjusted to being in a new place like a champ, but convincing Queen Elizabeth to climb down from my shoulder took almost 20 minutes, as did getting Mr. Puffs out from under the couch and to his litter box. Now, though, all three cats are relatively calm and roaming around the penthouse, with Joffrey doing his best to keep them from getting into trouble. I told him it was futile, but he's determined to try. Spearing a piece of asparagus, I consider Marcus's words. "Yes, I suppose that's true. I don't know who my father is, so I never think about him."
"Your mother never told you?"
"She didn't know herself. I was conceived during one of the less discriminating periods in her dating history," which is putting it mildly. My grandparents never said it outright, but from what I've gleaned, my mother may have been either an escort or a full-on prostitute at the time. Sympathy warms the cool blue of Marcus's gaze.
"I see."
I smile at him. "It's okay. I don't mind. I doubt he was an upstanding citizen, so it's really for the best."
"You may be right."
Marcus cuts a perfectly seasoned scallop in two and forks one half into his mouth.
"It might be better to imagine him however you want," he says after he chews and swallows.
"Yes, exactly. When I was a little girl, I fantasized that he was a prince or a diplomat from some faraway land. Later, when I grew up, I decided it would be enough if he was a regular guy. Nothing fancy, but kind. I started imagining a truck driver with a potbelly who just happened to be passing through the city the night he hooked up with my mother. Some solid Midwestern dude who likes to have a couple of beers on the weekends and owns a big dog, and maybe a cat or two, because, it's got to be genetic." Marcus grins.
"Right. Then why not a veterinarian or a zookeeper?"
"Oh, that would be amazing." I sigh with exaggerated longing and dip my scallop into the delicious gravy on top of the tastefully arranged mound of sweet potato mash. Joffrey's cooking is high-end restaurant good. Not that I've been to too many high-end restaurants. For the next minute, my mouth is too full to talk, but finally I manage to ask, "What about you? Have you ever imagined anything along those lines?" As soon as the words leave my mouth, I want to kick myself. Marcus's face tightens, his smile disappearing without a trace.
No, he says evenly. I've always known where I come from, so there was no point in fantasizing.
Damn it, I'm so stupid. He told me about his father, how he'd been killed in prison where he was serving time for armed robbery and assault. I remembered that, of course, but it somehow didn't register fully. In my mind, Marcus's upbringing had been pretty much a carbon copy of mine, with a shitty mother and a non-existent father. But his father had been worse than non-existent. He'd been a criminal. Or at least a guy who was convicted of armed robbery and assault. Do you think your father could have been innocent? I ask cautiously. Because that happens all the time, right? Wrongful convictions? Marcus's mouth twists.
Oh, he was definitely guilty. If not of that specific crime, then of a dozen others. He'd done time before, more than once. Grand theft auto, breaking and entering, arson. He'd been convicted of everything short of kidnapping, rape, and murder. And I wouldn't be surprised if he'd done that too, just without getting caught.
I stare at him, my chest aching. I'm sorry. That must be so tough for you. Have you always known about the kind of man he was, or did you find out later, as an adult?
I've always known. My mother loved to tell me about his exploits in detail, so I grew up on tales of his robberies like other kids do on bedtime stories.
Bitter amusement glimmers in Marcus's gaze.
Her favorite thing was telling me how much like my father I was, how I was bound to grow up to be just like him.
Well, she was clearly wrong, I say fiercely. I can sense the pain underneath his lightly spoken words, and it makes my heart feel like it's being sliced into pieces. You're nothing like him, and if she could see you now, she'd know it.
Am I not, though?
A shadow passes over Marcus's face.
Because sometimes I wonder.
You're not, I say firmly. Not even for a second. Blood doesn't tell, remember? It's the choices we make that determine who we are. The man sitting in front of me might be driven in the extreme and downright ruthless at times, but he'd never hurt innocent people. I know that about him. I can feel it. The intense ambition that burns inside him could have led him down a darker path, but it didn't, because early on he chose not to be like the man who sired him, just like I chose not to be like the woman who gave birth to me. Marcus's gaze softens, a smile tugging at one corner of his mouth.
Choices, huh? That sounds like one of those anti-drug slogans for teens.
I grin. It does, doesn't it? I should probably come up with something more creative.
I'm sure you will if you put your mind to it. You're a great writer,
Marcus says, and I blink at the earnestness in his tone. When would he have seen my writing?
A great editor, I mean,
he amends, and I exhale in relief. For a second there, I was afraid he'd somehow caught a glimpse of the story I started working on this weekend. At this stage, I'm not ready to acknowledge to myself that I'm attempting this, much less talk about it with anyone. As an English major, I've known far too many people who started a novel and never finished it. And as a freelance editor, I've seen how hard it is to craft a compelling story. I may know proper grammar and be able to string sentences together, but the odds of me getting past the first few chapters, much less finishing an entire book, are slim. As a book-obsessed teenager, I tried it and failed miserably, getting stuck less than 2,000 words in. Later, in college, I was able to write a few short stories for my creative writing class. But a full-length novel is a different beast. It requires dedication and persistence, and that's certain something I'm not sure I possess, which is why I decided to leverage my love of books into a career in the publishing industry rather than trying to become an author myself. Editing stories can be just as fun as writing them, especially if it's a genre I enjoy. I'm about to joke with Marcus that it's hard to catch your own cliches, hence editors being a necessity, when a loud crash from the living room makes me jump to my feet. "Puffs!" I yell, running toward the sound, and sure enough, the disaster I expected is here. One of the modern art sculptures by the couch is lying in pieces on the floor.
Chapter 22. Marcus. Stop apologizing, I tell Emma as I lead her into the bedroom, my hand resting on the small of her back. I'm the one who insisted you bring them with you. Yes, but I knew better than to listen. You've never lived with Mr. Puffs. You don't know how destructive he can be. That cat is an absolute menace. She sounds so disgusted I can't help but laugh, though there's really nothing funny about losing a piece of art that cost $2.5 million. It's fine, I say, and to my surprise, I mean it. The broken sculpture was one of the first collectibles I acquired when I started making serious money, and each time I'd looked at it, I'd felt a sense of satisfaction at the knowledge of how far I'd come. And for years, that satisfaction, that feeling of acquisitive pride, had been enough. But not any longer. Having met Emma, I want more. I want to bask in her sweet, seductive warmth, to experience the affection she gives so easily to her family and her pets. And if that means I have to put up with some broken sculptures, so be it. I want Emma to love me, no matter what it takes. The realization detonates in my mind like a hydrogen bomb, and my heartbeat surges, my hand tightening on Emma's fingers before I can catch myself. "What's wrong?" she asks, glancing up as we stop a few feet from the bed. I drop my hand and step back. Nothing. But even to my ears, my voice sounds off, all hoarse and shell-shocked. And I feel shell-shocked, blasted apart by the realization mushrooming in my mind. How have I not seen this before? How could I have been so blind? "Love," she told me the other weekend when I asked her what more her cats needed after she'd fed them, changed their litter, and played with them. As far as I was concerned, all their needs had been met, but Emma knew better. She knew they needed what only she could provide: warmth, caring, affection, love. "Seriously, are you mad at me?" A worried frown creases her smooth forehead. "I can take the cats home right now before they can do more damage, and I'll reimburse you for the sculpture. I know it's probably crazy expensive, but I can make monthly payments until—" "Fuck the sculpture." My voice is low and savage as I step toward her. My face must also reflect the turmoil inside me, because her eyes widen and she starts to back away. Only it's too late. Catching her upper arms in an iron grip, I drag her against me and, bending my head, claim her mouth the way I need to claim her heart. Totally, completely, without giving her a choice in the matter. "Are you okay?" I finally find the strength to ask, lifting my head, and she nods mutely, looking dazed and shaken as I climb off her. The bed is a mess of twisted sheets, the floor covered with our torn clothes, but for once in my life, I don't give a fuck. Gently, I scoop up Emma and carry her into the shower, where I wash us both, noticing as I do that I once again forgot to use a condom. We'll need to get another morning after pill tonight, tomorrow at the latest, but right now, an unintended pregnancy is the least of my worries. All my life, I'd been driven by ambition, pursuing wealth and power because I thought that was what I needed. I took pride in my possessions, my social status, everything I'd achieved. And all the while, I'd been missing the one and only thing I truly wanted. Like Emma's cats that evening, I'd had all my needs taken care of except for one. And like her pets, I can't get it from anyone or anything but her. Love. I want that from her. I need it. I have to have it because I'm no longer just obsessed with her. I'm in love with Emma Walsh, and the knowledge scares me shitless.
Chapter 23. Emma. Something's changed. I can feel it in the way Marcus holds me, the way he looks at me as he carries me back to the bed after telling me off like a doll. Our sex life has always been intense, but he's never taken me the way he did tonight, with a dark, almost savage desperation, a hunger that seemed to go beyond the physical. What happened didn't feel like sex. It felt like a mating. I'm still trying to gather my endorphin-fried brains as he carefully sets me on my feet next to the bed and straightens the tangled sheets and blankets. The luxurious bed looks how I feel, like a tornado touched down on top of it. A tornado named Marcus, whose gloriously naked body is all bronzed skin and flexing muscles as he stretches over the bed, tucking the blanket underneath the mattress like a maid at a hotel.
"Joffrey hasn't gone home yet, so I'm going to send him to get the pill," he says when he straightens, and I stare at him blankly for a moment, my mind still on the way his muscular ass looked when he was bent over, doing his neat freak thing. Then it dawns on me what pill he's talking about.
"We forgot the condom again?" He nods, his gaze hooded. Shit. I can't believe I didn't catch that myself. Actually, no, I believe it. With sex that intense, I could have had a kidney taken out and been none the wiser. Case in point, he's been carrying me around tonight like I weigh no more than my cats, and I've just now realized it. Those big, sexy muscles aren't just for show. "I think I need to get on birth control," I say, forcing myself to look at Marcus's face instead of all that muscly temptation. "It's ridiculous that this keeps happening." He stills, an indecipherable something darkening his gaze.
"Kitten."
His voice is low and soft.
"Do you want kids?"
Wait, what? You mean like ever or soon? I'm sure he doesn't mean the latter, but I have to check, because his timing is odd, to say the least. It would be one thing if we were having a nice dinner and the conversation drifted to our future dreams and goals, but we have a forgotten condom situation on our hands. At this very moment, his little swimmers are inside me, and if they're anywhere near as goal-oriented as their daddy, we need that morning after pill pronto, and I need to find the cash for a long-overdue visit to my OB/GYN. Not having health insurance sucks. Marcus's gaze is unblinking.
"Either. Both."
Well, I gulp in a breath. I do want kids, eventually, with the right person. There, that should be a neutral enough response. My dream is actually 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, spaced about 2 years apart, but I'm not about to tell Marcus that. Men tend to freak out when women get overly specific about stuff like that, as if a woman fantasizing about children in the future means she wants to steal his sperm that very day. I'm about to congratulate myself on getting out of that sticky, literally, I can still feel a little stickiness between my legs, situation, when Marcus's jaw tightens and he turns abruptly with a curt,
"I'll be right back."
He disappears into his ginormous walk-in closet and emerges a second later in a dark blue robe. Without so much as a look at me, he strides out of the bedroom, and I hear his footsteps in the hallway. They're fast, almost angry. Crap, did I upset him somehow? I hope he doesn't think I'm trying to trap him with the baby, because that would be totally unfair. He is the one who forgot to use a condom, not me. Unless it's, again, whatever it was that got him upset earlier. My cat's destroying his place, maybe? Increasingly worried, I find the fluffy pink robe I wore the last time I was here and throw it on, then tiptoe out of the bedroom to peer down the spiral staircase. Marcus is downstairs talking to Joffrey. Their voices are pitched low, but I catch the words pharmacy and pill and blow out a relieved breath. For a moment, I was afraid he might be telling Joffrey to pack up my cat's things and throw all 4 of us out on the street. I turn to head back into the bedroom and nearly trip over Mr. Puffs, who's decided that stretching out on his side directly behind me is a great idea. "Puffs!" I bend down to grab him, but the evil cat flips over with lightning speed and streaks away, fluffy tail raised high. If this were my apartment, I'd catch him after a few minutes of determined chasing. There are only so many places to run in a tiny studio. But Marcus's mansion-sized penthouse is a different matter, and the cat seems to know that. With a gloating look over his shoulder, he disappears into the library, and I decide against pursuing him there. From what I recall, all the pricey first editions in Marcus's collection are under glass, and in any case, my cats don't usually mess with books. I'd like to think it's because I raised them to respect the written word, same as I do. Sighing, I return to the bedroom and go into Marcus's closet, where I'm unsurprised to see my jeans, sweaters, and blouses hanging neatly, and looking particularly cheap and ratty next to Marcus's sleek Italian suits and perfectly pressed shirts. Oh well, not all of us shop at Bergdorf Goodman. or wherever it is that billionaires get their stuff. I'm flipping through the meager selection, trying to decide what to wear to work tomorrow, when Marcus appears in the doorway.
"Joffrey's gone to pick up the pill,"
he says, leaning against the doorframe. His face is partially in shadow, making his expression hard to decipher, but his voice is even, the earlier abruptness gone. Maybe he's over whatever caused his funk? Okay, thanks, I say and take a breath. So, about tomorrow. I have to be at work by—
Wilson will take you.
He straightens and comes toward me.
And he'll bring you back.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'll take the subway and—
I promised your grandparents.
He stops in front of me, his face set in uncompromising lines.
They want you safe and warm, and so do I.
I stare up at him, fighting a warm sensation in my chest. I should be irritated by his autocratic manner, but I find his overbearing protectiveness oddly sweet. Still, I can't just use his private driver willy-nilly. Thank you, but—
No buts. Wilson is driving you, and that's all there is to it.
Okay, now I'm irritated. Marcus.
And I don't want you going back to your place tomorrow night.
His gaze burning into me, he captures my hands.
Stay here, kitten. Permanently. Starting with tonight.
Chapter 24. Marcus. Emma's expression turned stormy, her small hands tensing in my hold, and I know I've gone too far. Even as the words were coming out of my mouth, I knew I was making a strategic mistake, but I couldn't stop myself. I need Emma locked down, tied to me, and I need it now. The thought that she might get her cats and leave tomorrow, that she might walk away from me, even if only for one night, is exacerbating the seething cauldron in my chest. I feel like I'm on the verge of losing it and doing something totally insane, like handcuffing her to me and hopping on my plane to take her to some remote location, say an underground bunker in the Himalayas or an island in the middle of the Pacific. It doesn't matter where, as long as it would be just the two of us and she wouldn't be able to escape. And yes, I know how fucked up and criminal that sounds. With the right person, she said, implying it's not me. Up to that point, I'd been debating if I should tell her how I feel, risk the pain of rejection to find out if we're on the same page. Yes, I've had to chase her pretty hard throughout our short relationship, but I could swear there's a certain softness in the way she looks at me, a glimmer of the same addiction in the way she melts each time I touch her. Even the fact that she agreed to come home with me tonight, despite the complex logistics of bringing her pets along, told me that I'm not alone in this obsession, that she doesn't want to be apart from me any more than I wish to be away from her. But I'd obviously misread her feelings. She's nowhere near the same place I am. She thinks we're still playing around, casually dating, whereas I'm picturing her as the mother of my future children, all three of them. As a kid, I hated being an only child and desperately wished for siblings. She has 3 fur babies, so she wouldn't mind 3 of the furless variety, right? In my BE, before Emma plan, I was going to wait on the children part until I was sure that my marriage was built on a solid foundation, that my carefully chosen wife and I were compatible over the long term. A few years of marriage seemed like a solid trial run. I figured we could try for our first child shortly after I turned 40, and then we'd have all 3 in rapid succession to ensure they'd be close enough in age to be playmates. It was a good plan, a logical one, and I have no doubt it would have worked if I hadn't met a certain little redhead. The second I laid eyes on Emma, my world went topsy-turvy, my rational brain hijacked by instincts so primitive I might as well move into a cave and start wearing furs. No wonder I keep forgetting condoms. My subconscious has known all along what I've just now realized. I want Emma, and not just for a few weeks or months. I want her for a lifetime. I want her for my wife. It's a relief to admit that to myself, to face the truth that had been gnawing at the back of my mind from the moment I realized I can't stay away from Emma for a full week of detox, that I can't stay away from her, period. All the things I thought I wanted in a life partner, elegance, high class, old money connections, would have been more of what I already had. The perfect trophy wife I'd envisioned would have been the human equivalent of my art collection, another symbol of my achievement rather than a person who can give me what I truly need. Only my Emma can do that, and she's not on the same page. "I'm not moving in with you," she says, glaring up at me. "I told you that 1,000,000 times already. This is only for—" Fine. It takes all of my self-control to rein in my hurt and anger and release her hands. The knowledge that I love her and she doesn't share my feelings is like a honey badger on a rampage in my chest, but I can't force her to love me, can't bully her into marrying me, no matter how appealing the idea is. I have to approach this the same way I'd approach any other challenge, with cool logic and intellect. In other words, I'd have to back the fuck off and let her think she's winning, retreat an inch now so I can gain a mile down the road. I soften my voice. "You're not moving in with me, I understand. I'll stop asking you, if you do one thing for me." "What thing?" she asks suspiciously. Her fiery curls are extra wild from the vigorous sex we just had, her rosebud lips pink and swollen from my kisses, and all I want is to grab her and carry her back to bed, where I can imprint my claim on her all over again. There's no way I'm waiting until I'm 40 to have kids with her. I want them now, today, yesterday. The mental image of Emma soft and round with my baby is hotter than any porn I've seen, and pregnant women have never been my kink. It's only her. She makes me regress to this atavistic creature. Forget wearing furs. I might as well throw back my head and start baying at the fucking moon. With effort, I wrench my thoughts back to the discussion at hand. "It's two things, actually," I say, and the suspicion in her pretty eyes deepens. "What two things?" "Let me fulfill my promise to your grandparents and have Wilson take you to and from work tomorrow. He gets an annual salary, so it doesn't cost me a dime extra." I probably should have led with that last bit, because as soon as I say it, much of the tension on her face fades and she sighs. "I guess I can live with that. What's the other thing?" "I have a dinner with a few of my investors tomorrow, and I'd like you to come. It's at a restaurant in Midtown near my office at 7 o'clock. Wilson can bring you directly there after work. Please," I add, seeing the shock on her face. "I want you there, kitten. I want you at the dinner by my side."
Chapter 25. Emma. I'm in a state of panic throughout the entire morning. At my request, Wilson drove me to my apartment before work so I could pick up a dress for tonight, a long-sleeved wrap-style piece I found on a department store clearance rack a few years ago. At the time, it looked nice and stylish, the gray material draping over my curves with a subtle flare. But after a dozen encounters with a washing machine, it more closely resembles something out of a cat's butt. Still, I grabbed it this morning because it's the only businessy thing I own. In fact, I was going to wear it to job interviews, back when I still had hopes of getting a position with some big-name publisher. The interviews never materialized, so now I just wear the dress whenever I need to look a little more put together. Like, say, when I'm going out to dinner with half a dozen individuals whose monthly income exceeds what most families earn in a lifetime. And that's not an exaggeration. I asked Marcus for their names this morning and looked them up. Let's just say he won't be the only person at our table tonight who's been featured by Forbes. Damn it, what am I doing? I still can't believe Marcus got me to agree to this. I must have still been out of it after that intense sex session, because instead of panicking right then and there, I'd been equal parts shocked and flattered that he wants to introduce me to his investors. After all, I'm about as far from being an asset at social functions as a girl can get. But Marcus had been insistent that he wants me there, and I'd given in. Partially because of the flattered bit, and partially because he promised to stop pressuring me about moving in. Then he started making love to me again, and that eliminated all possibility of thinking. It's only when I woke up this morning that I realized the dinner means I won't be able to go home tonight, as it would likely run late, and packing up my cats would take at least an hour, longer if I have to chase them around the spacious penthouse. They really like Marcus's place, so much so they spent all night running around and exploring. I only saw them briefly this morning when they jumped into bed with me for a few minutes of obligatory cuddles. Thankfully, Marcus was in the shower by then. I'm not sure how he would have felt about furry paws on his pristine white sheets. He may not think he's a neat freak, but he totally is. Even his briefs are arranged in perfectly folded squares. In any case, it's clear to me now that I've been outmaneuvered. Again. Thanks to this dinner, I'm going to end up staying at Marcus's place 2 nights in a row, which is what he was after all along. What's worse is I committed to accompanying him to an event that I'm completely unequipped for, and not just because all he'd packed for me were jeans and sweaters. I have literally never been to a business dinner, much less one with people this rich and powerful. One of Marcus's investors manages the California Teachers Union Pension Fund. Another is a real estate tycoon. A third is a Russian-born tech billionaire. A fourth is an up-and-coming fitness mogul. And the last 2 are pretty much invisible online, which likely means they're some type of secretive old money. Meanwhile, I'm an introverted bookstore clerk whose most professional outfit is a cat's butt dress. Naturally, when I realized all this upon waking up and tried to back out, Marcus offered to buy me whatever I needed to feel comfortable, an offer I immediately declined, claiming I have everything I need. But that pretty much committed me to going, hence me literally breathing into a paper bag during my lunch hour.
"Emma, are you okay?"
Mr. Smithson asks, finding me in an armchair at the back of the store, and I lower the bag to give my boss an overly bright smile. Yes, just testing out a new meditation technique.
"Oh, I see."
His expression clears as a knowing grin appears on his face. If we were in a comic book, there'd be a thought bubble above his head that says, "Millennials, should have known better than to ask." Satisfied that I'm not about to throw up on the latest row of thrillers, he ambles away, and I resume breathing into the bag, hoping against hope that this calms me down. It doesn't. If anything, I feel extra jittery. Why did I agree to this? And why does Marcus want me there anyway? We've just started dating, and I'm nowhere near the type of girlfriend a billionaire would be dying to show off. My table manners are okay. My Southern grandmother made sure of that. But all the rest of it, like small talk and schmoozing, is beyond me. I can discuss the latest New York Times bestsellers, but that's about it. Come to think of it, there's no way Marcus was going to bring me to this dinner when we stopped by my apartment after the flight. Otherwise, he would have packed something fancier than jeans for me, unless he was planning to buy me clothes. But no, he knows how I feel about stuff like that. This was definitely an impulse invitation on his part, which makes it all the weirder that he was so insistent I accept. In general, his behavior after dinner yesterday was strange, with that uber-intense sex and the children query and all. He even seemed upset when Joffrey showed up with a morning after pill, and I took it, as if Marcus himself wasn't the one who sent him on the errand. It's as though something happened, only for the life of me I can't think what. Marcus was adamant it wasn't Mr. Puff's breaking the sculpture, but that's about the only mishap that occurred after we finished dinner. Unless, was it something at dinner? Maybe he was upset I'd brought up his father?
"Emma. Earth to Emma."
Yes, Mr. Smithson? Lowering the bag again, I look up at my boss, who must have been standing there for a while. And he's not alone. With him is his blonde nephew, the aspiring urban fantasy author I showed around the bookstore a couple of weeks ago. Pushing all thoughts of Marcus aside, I rise to my feet and smile brightly. Hi, Ian. How are you? How's your book coming along? The last time we spoke, he'd been very excited about it, and I told him about my freelance editing services, in case he decided to go the self-published route. Never hurts to drum up a little business. My boss beams at me, and I wince internally, realizing he's again matchmaking, and misinterpreting what he's seeing. Though the shy, geeky Ian is what I've always thought of as my type, my only interest in him is as a potential client. Not only am I officially dating Marcus now, but from the moment I met my Wallstreet titan, I haven't felt so much as a smidgen of attraction to another man. Ian's fair skin flushes, and his Adam's apple bobs as he adjusts his glasses.
"I'm, almost done with the first draft. I think I'll finish it this week."
Oh, good for you. Do let me know if you need any editing help once you get to that point. That's a little pushier than my typical MO, but I want to make it clear to Mr. Smithson that I'm seeing his nephew purely as a business opportunity. Unfortunately, my boss is undeterred. With a huge smile, he says to Ian, "Yes, definitely talk to our Emma. She knows good books." And winking at me, he ambles away, leaving me alone with his nephew. The good news is that talking to Ian, or rather listening to him explain every plot point of his book in yawn-inducing detail, serves as a distraction from my anxiety about the dinner. The bad news is that an hour later, when Ian finally departs, I'm right back to freaking out. Seriously, why did I agree to this? More importantly, is it too late to back out? I grab my phone to call Marcus, but then I recall that he's supposed to be in meetings all day today. Something about the start of the month and strategizing for the upcoming Alpha Zone conference. I have no idea what Alpha Zone is, but I'm pretty sure it's not a werewolf get-together, which is where my shifter romance reading brain goes whenever I hear the word alpha. Given the context, it's probably some obscure investing term. I should really look it up, if only because it's good for an editor to know these things. Either way, I end up calling Kendall instead of Marcus and spilling my entire dilemma to her. "Do you think I should fake an illness, maybe?" I say when I'm done. "It is flu season and—" "Don't you dare," she interrupts, and I hear a car honking in the background. She must be outside, running one of the million errands her boss always sends her on. "Are you crazy?" she continues when the honking stops. "He's bringing you to a business dinner. Don't you know what that means?" I take a breath. "Well, it means it's serious, Emma. He's integrating you into his life, the most important parts of his life." Two more honks interrupt her words, and I picture her jaywalking across a busy intersection like the fearless New Yorker she is. "A man like him would never ask a casual lay to an investor dinner. This is next-level shit. Even you, Miss Oblivious, have to know that." "Well, duh, of course I know that. That's why I agreed, because I was flattered to be asked. But these people are just people," Kendall says firmly. "Being rich and famous doesn't make you superhuman. I told you that. They're just individuals. Treat them as such, and you'll be okay." Easy for her to say. With her outgoing personality, she could have a witty exchange with a tree. Whereas "Stop it, Ems." Another loud honk in the background. "I can hear you thinking, and I don't like it." "My thinking?" "You're overthinking. Just put on your cat's butt dress and go with the flow. And next time, let Marcus buy you an outfit like he offered. Now I've got to go. I'm getting into the subway. Bye." And she hangs up, leaving me no calmer than before.
Chapter 26. Marcus. The first weekday of the month is always busy for me, as I spend all day catching up with my portfolio managers. I sit down with each one individually and go over his or her team's P&L for the past month, their past and upcoming trades, and anything else they want to talk about, like hiring new analysts or getting a greater share of the fund's assets under management. And this being December, it's also when bonus talk begins, though I'm only giving out the official numbers in January. In our business, a lot can happen in a month, both good and bad. As I meet with one person after another, my thoughts keep drifting to Emma. I wonder what she's doing, how she's feeling, whether she's still as panicked as she'd been this morning. Admittedly, it wasn't nice of me to spring the dinner on her like that, but once the idea popped into my mind, I couldn't let it go. I want my kitten at the restaurant with me tonight, and not just because that means I'll see her hours sooner. I want her to know it's not just sex between us. I want to show her I'm in it for good. Of course, it would have been better if I'd decided this sooner, so I could have given Emma more time to prepare, maybe even talked her into letting me buy her something suitable for the event. She claimed she has something at home, but I've seen her closet, and I very much doubt that's the case. Not that I care what she wears. It's more about her being comfortable. The BE, before Emma, version of me would have been horrified that I'm bringing a girlfriend in cheap, worn-out clothes to an investor dinner, but the AE version doesn't give a fuck. Emma is more important to me than all of my investors combined, and in any case, at this point in my career, I could show up to this dinner naked, with all 3 of Emma's cats sitting on my shoulders, and these people would still jump through hoops to give me money. My fund's returns speak for themselves. So yes, I don't need to impress anyone with the woman I'm going to marry, but I suspect Emma will impress them anyway. The longer I'm around her, the more I see that her beauty doesn't come from the clothes she wears or how she styles her hair. It shines from deep within her. Her warm, sweet sensuality is powerful allure as anything I've known. That dimpled smile alone is enough to send heat rushing to my groin, and I know I'm not the only one susceptible to it. When we were in Florida, men of all ages were eyeing her like hungry jackals. It's only my presence that deterred the fuckers from approaching to ask her out. I have no idea how she stayed single for so long. I really fucking don't. Which reminds me, holding up a hand to get my telecom PM to stop talking for a second, I lean over my desk and press a button on my intercom. Lynette, I need you to come into my office as soon as Henry here is done, I say when my assistant answers. I have a special project for you. Buying a ring might be premature, but I haven't gotten where I am by not planning for the future. It'll take time to make Emma fall in love with me, but as soon as she does, I'll be ready. I'm going to marry her, and fast.